Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Missing Scene podcast. This is just a quick message to say that this episode contains themes of suicide and language that some listeners may find offensive. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hi Charlie.
Hello.
Hi Harry.
Hello.
Hi Ollie.
Hello.
Hello. How are we all?
Yeah.
It's a weird one because it's so hot in here. I can't get over how hot it is in here.
I am pleased to be back because for in terms of our recording chronology for us, this is the first time we come back to. But the previous time we recorded, so
It was
me and
you,
Dan.
right? Yeah.
We recorded at Dan's house, and we had a lovely sort of.
I was on the sofas.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really,
it was
really
nice.
nice.
Yeah, I heard
really-
about this.
We had like
Okay.
a lovely little interruption from Loki the cat,
Yep.
and
I think you get caught. I think you got caught on recording.
It
I'm
did,
just
yeah,
playing
yeah.
with a cat.
yeah. And now we're
Sick.
back in the studio. So please, we were just talking about Alan Partridge before the before we hit record. That's why I felt inclined to do that
voice.
weird little voice. But yeah, we're back in the studio.
And back in the studio, we are doing episode 12 now. We went past 10. It seems like it's gone past so quick.
Yeah.
And we are back doing a director special of Martin McDonagh. Now, I think I feel like for me and Charlie and Harry is an episode we've kind of been looking forward to. This again is one of the original ones that was in the pipeline. Ollie wasn't too sure about Martin McDonagh. Did you manage to rewatch any of them?
We will get into it.
Okay. Ooh, mysterious.
But yeah, no, I will. I'll say straight up. I'll be transparent. It's not. I'm not particularly familiar with these films like you guys are. I remember when I met you two, nearly 10 years ago now. We were coming up to 3 Billboards coming out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember you guys putting on showings at our place of work of the other films and everything, and I didn't actually. I'd heard of these films, but I hadn't seen any of them. I didn't know much about Martin McDonagh, and it was 3 Billboards was the first one that I watched.
Yeah.
But you guys were singing his praises back then.
Yeah. I think. The first film I think I watched was In Bruges, but it wasn't until because In Bruges was released in 2008, but it wasn't until 3 Billboards that I saw the trailer and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And found out he'd done 2 other films and then ended up getting them, watching them.
I think it would be I would really want to see some. So other than Ollie, have we all seen the rest of them? Yeah, we've all seen.
Yeah, I've seen all. So he's had 4 feature films, and I've seen all
about
4.
the short film because we've got this on here, and I don't know if any of us.
6 shooter. Yeah, so
I've seen 6 shooter.
So you can be our lead for that.
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick introduction about Martin McDonagh himself. It's just like a little bit of information. So, born in 1970, Camberwell, London, England, Martin McDonagh started his film career with the short film 6 Shooter, which won Best Short Film at the Academy Awards. And he has since amassed 4 further feature films: In Bruges, 7 Psychopaths, 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah.
His efforts have earned him critical acclaim and garnered 6 Oscar nominations and 12 BAFTA nominations, of which he's won 6. That's him. The films have obviously won more.
Yeah.
But him as a writer director he's won 6.
This also, I think, kind of leaves out, and again, it'll be a weird one because I don't know how familiar any of us are with the actual work, but like his theatre work before this, which is a very big part of the
style of his films. Yeah, because I think the most recent one that I've seen that you could go to, which I was really considering, was Pillow Man.
Yeah.
That was
Billy
like
Allen, Pillow Man.
Yes, yeah. So you can clearly see in his films that he is meant for directing spoken word films above everything. Which we'll get into at some point. So kind of like my first film was In Bruges that I watched. What about you?
It was In Bruges. I remember seeing like it plastered over like every bus stop in Milton Keynes, and it was like an action looking poster. But
terrible poster.
It was bright pink with a
bright pink.
pink ice cream, and he never eats an ice cream.
Yeah,
in the whole fucking film.
It's like the tagline on it. I think was like "Shoot first, sight see later," and it just looks looks awful.
It looks terrible.
And it was,
if you look at the poster, it's bad.
It was everywhere, and I remember coming home and being like, oh, I've seen a film. It's In Bruges. It's got Colin Farrell in it, which my mum was like, well, we'll go and see it.
A big Colin Farrell fan.
Yeah. And yeah.
For me, it was
Well,
always
Bruges, yeah.
It was always a fascinating one because this was back in the day when I actually gave a shit about IMDb ratings, which if you've heard the trash I talk about on this podcast, not the case anymore. But it was always weird to me that because it was like always hung around the bottom of the top 250 back in the day. And I remember always being like, but that film looks terrible. Like, again, going just off the poster, going off like
ratings
the push
and
it
stuff
got.
like that, yeah.
And then, got to it a few years later, like watched it on, it was a film, because it's a film for production, right?
Yeah.
And it was one of those, watched at like 9:30 or whatever. And I just remember the next couple of days just being like, going to my friend like, I think that film is something really special. I don't, and like completely like not know, not having the words for, I can't believe that this is what this film is, especially from like the first 5 minutes of like, this is doing something way braver than they had let it on to be what it is.
What about you, Ollie? So what was the first one you saw in the end?
It was 3 Billboards.
Yep.
I saw it in the cinema on my own.
On your own? What? Just because it was just empty screen?
Yeah. Or just I had a spare afternoon, or I'd finished working at the cinema and just thought, hell yeah, it's a Saturday, I'll check it out. That was the first I watched. And then I watched In Bruges, which I've only seen once.
Yeah. And is that the only two you've seen then?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. No,
unfortunately. So Dan did lend me. It's quite funny because if you've seen our Instagram page, this is a shameless plug. If you've seen our Instagram page, if you haven't, go check it out.
It is just currently, it is at the Missing Scene Pod. We'll do it twice.
Yeah. I take quite a lot of pictures with my sort of Blu-ray collection in the background, and I like to think I've got like a fair collection. But
it's quite extensive from the photos.
Yeah, but Dan is always lending me. It's like every week we come to talk about a film or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll rewatch it, and then I get home and I'm like, I don't actually have it. So Dan lent me In Bruges and 7 Psychopaths, but I didn't get around to watching them since I last saw Dan because I've been very busy, for which I can only apologise. But
no, but fine.
I was gonna say, the enthusiasm that the three of you guys have will more than make up for it, and I have stolen a lot of airtime on this podcast anyway. So
I'm hoping then that, because we've always said that if somebody listens to this podcast and listens and we talk about something they haven't seen, they want to go see it, then that's great. So maybe it might spur you on a little bit to possibly. All I'll say is that at the time of recording, Banshees leaves Film 4 in like 5 days. So
okay.
And it's not on Disney Plus.
I have no desire to watch that film anytime.
So
I love it,
which weirdly is a strong recommendation. But
so I ended up watching. What was it Monday night? I watched In Bruges and a little bit of 7 Psychopaths, and the next night I did 7 Psychopaths and a little bit of 3 Billboards.
Yeah.
And last night I did 3 Billboards. I've messed up my time. Anyway, I've basically done 1.5 each night. Yeah. And then this morning I was like, I need to kind of rewatch Banshees. So I watched it at work, and I really wish I didn't.
So it's like 3.5 Psychopaths, 1.5 Billboards
exactly.
an evening.
Half a trip to Bruges.
Yeah.
I
love it.
So I think kind of one of the things as well that I think we picked Martin McDonagh is very much his style. I mean, we'll get more into it specifically for each film, but just a general kind of overview is that from this, like we mentioned before, it is very much it's very much films where it is all about the characters. Mm-hmm. It's not like there's obviously the plot drives the characters and all stuff like that, but this is very much a lot of dialogue, but really engaging dialogue. And I think the only other person writer-wise I can think of that does this really well is obviously Quentin Tarantino. A lot of his films are heavily dialogue-based, and I think that Martin McDonagh at the same time is obviously in a completely different way, is just as good at putting 2 people in a room and you'd be engaged watching them and talking for quite some time.
I think there's a lot of, of these films, the most Tarantino-esque is probably 7 Psychopaths with
100%.
And I think that is the first time that people started drawing that comparison. I personally think he's a better writer than Tarantino. I think he's more interesting. That's no.
Is that in terms of dialogue or the general story?
I think I would say, and we'll get into a lot of the content. I mean, also there's a lot of comparisons between the violence in his films, the swearing in his films, the language in his films, etc. But I think, and some of this I will end up playing. Again, I have disagreements with some of the stuff that turns up in these films, which, again, I think the content warning is going before this, so there will be a lot to discuss, and we'll try and cover it as sensitively and as well as we can. He's probably a director that I play devil's advocate more than I perhaps should, but that is because I do think at the center of his films there is a reason for why his films use the language they do. There is an intention behind them that I don't think Tarantino sometimes has. And again, that isn't necessarily as a dig at Tarantino. I think Tarantino films are great fucking fun. Like, I've watched a lot of them. But it's always a weird comparison to make with any director of it's like Tarantino. That always feels a bit like people don't have all the like references that they should have necessarily. But hey, if that's what gets you into the door to watch these guys' films, like if you like Tarantino, you should check out some of his movies.
I think it's a fair comparison. Mm-hmm. I think the violence in Tarantino's films are a lot more kind of over the top. Mm-hmm. You'd say maybe not his earlier stuff. Maybe like Reservoir Dogs isn't really isn't over the top as like in Inglourious Basterds where they blow the shit out of Hitler's face. Like stuff like that is like, whereas the violence in this is quite heavy. Yeah. Material. Yeah.
Again, I think the heaviness. Again, I think there is a reason for the heaviness that makes me want to stand him apart from that in a certain to a certain extent.
So I think also, like we touched on it before, each of these I could possibly easily see as a theatre show.
Yeah.
Some more than others, but I think
some more than others. I think Seven Psychopaths maybe not, but still could be. But ones like in Bruges and especially Banshees.
Banshees you could do with like 3 settings.
Well, that is all it is, isn't it? Really, it's just four locations on one tiny island.
Basically, yeah.
So we'll move on to the first, the short film. Yeah. Could you just give us a quick overview of Six Shooter?
So I think it's about 26 minutes long. It's all pretty much set on a train, which was a real train that they borrowed from like Irish Rail for the day, and they had to give it back at 4:00. So I found like an interview that it was just a nightmare. But Brendan Gleeson starts with a doctor telling him that his wife has died overnight. He arrives at the hospital, and it's his journey home on a train.
Oh, what, after being to the hospital?
After being told that. And the doctor says, we're quite busy. I'm not going to be able to stay with you, but, do your thing. We're really busy. We've had 2 cot deaths, and some son has killed his mum, shot her in the head. And
it's evident that those kind of themes are from the very beginning.
Yeah. So the very first line of the film is, unfortunately, your mum passed away at 3 a.m. That's the opening line of the thing.
Jesus Christ.
And then he's told that, jumps on a train and bumps into a young Irish lad who's very unhinged, and a couple who are quite sad, and and you find out that the couple is one of the couples who experienced a cot death, but the Irish guy doesn't really know how to talk to them about that. Ends up taking the piss out of them.
Oh, okay.
Which drives the spoilers, by the way.
Oh, no.
Which drives the woman to jump off the train, while the husband is looking for her. The husband goes looking for her, can't find her, and the Irish guy's like, yeah, she just jumped off the train, like blah blah blah, blah. And he's like, taking the piss, like obviously she hasn't. He goes, no, she's on the windows. Oh. And then it goes to Gleeson, and the camera pans to the window, and you can just see blood splattered up the window. And then it sort of works out that the young Irish guy wants to tell Brendan Gleeson this story about a cow that has trapped wind, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And during the end, you find out that the young Irish guy is the guy who killed his mum.
Wow. Okay.
But it's fucking.
It's 26 all of that in 26 minutes.
That's a lot.
It's it's not for the faint-hearted. It is
No.
on YouTube to
Mhm.
watch.
Oh, okay.
Searchlight put it on YouTube for free.
When did it come
Um,
out?
I think it was like 2006, maybe
so.
possibly. So In Bruges was 2008. I think it was 2006.
But it's
I mean, it's a good. I'm trying to pick the good thing out of that. Obviously, it sounds for a short film. That's quite extreme.
yeah, and
Like,
I think it's 26 minutes of like pure like hell. But
there was literally no shining light whatsoever.
I think Brendan Gleeson starts to warm to the kid because at the time that he's a bit of a dick, but he's making kind of antidotes and sort of telling jokes. And during the shootout scene with the police right near the end, he kind of, you can see that he's upset by that death.
Yeah.
And he kind of comes home. There's like elements of suicide at the end as well. When he finally gets home, sits on his table and he gets his bunny, that he's got like a pet bunny rabbit, and goes to kill himself and doesn't, and ends up killing the rabbit.
Oh God! Is it?
There's a throughout his films, there's a lot of religion involved in
Mhm.
pretty much every single one of them. Before he kind of puts the gun to his head, there's a picture of Jesus on the side that he puts face down.
Oh, okay.
Which
I must say though, for like comparing that to his other four films, they're not all that bleak.
no,
I thought
no.
Banshees was, but that 26 minutes sounds quite.
It is.
So
There's elements of obviously dark humor,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but it's unrelenting.
Because the one that and it's going to be a weird sidetrack, but his brother's movies that
Yeah.
are, it's also like another part of sort of the lore here. That sounds quite a bit like in terms of Calvary of
Yeah,
that was one of like, I'm going to
Oh,
watch this
yeah.
because this is a fun, another
Holy shit.
McDonagh movie, and Calvary is a very good film, but a very very.
Did he
tough
also
watch.
do The Guard?
Yes, he did
Yeah.
The Guard. He did Calvary. He did War on Everyone, and I
Okay.
think he did something else fairly recently. I still-
Charlie is clapping
I
above
still
his
got your
head.
Blu-ray of that.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'll watch that at some point. His brother also has the best image on Wikipedia as far as I'm concerned, unless they changed it. Best director portrait, but that's a different aside. But it is interesting that both of them have a very similar voice and how
yeah,
quickly
yeah.
they both
Mm.
found that voice. Again, it's difficult to talk about because, again, I don't think any of us have seen the stage plays. But
No.
even from what you've just said, he sort of arrived on the scene pretty fully formed in a way
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a lot of directors don't really, writer-directors.
A lot of the shots and everything of these films are as well very much. You could possibly just. It is static.
Yeah.
It is staged. Everything is quite precise in
Yeah.
how it's done. I didn't think really that there was any of the four were like, I say good looking films, but there wasn't any shots or anything that really stood out for me until Banshees. I felt
Yeah.
Banshees was really well shot, looked great. Everything was, because the place that they live in is it's a beautiful island.
Yeah.
And everything, the shots like, oh no, we're jumping a little bit ahead, but like when Brendan Gleeson's holding his hand up and then he's got the shadow of his hand in the background when he's
Yeah.
shots like that, like there was a lot more of that in Banshees. I don't know whether there was a change of DOP or
I think the DOP worked on his last. I think it was 3 Billboards,
okay.
7
See,
Psychopaths, and Banshees.
So that makes sense, especially with the 3 Billboards element. But I felt like that it was very, especially to me, the first 3 were very much kind of like I said, theatre shot really.
They do have a very, I think it's weird. They do have a very distinct look to them. Like, again, Banshees is very much the very pretty Irish film and leans into that. 3 Billboards is very the Americana one.
Mhm.
And then 7 Psychopaths is stylized very intense. Like that is definitely the outlier in all of these films. That doesn't look like one of his films to a certain extent. I know people that just didn't like that movie because they just didn't think it felt like one of his films, which is weird because it's also probably the most his film. Like he's literally in it.
When I get into some of the, I know not a lot of people care about things, but I find it quite interesting. When I tell you the figures of some of these films, that's evident.
Yeah.
So just quickly, so In Bruges cost 15 million and it grossed 45. 7 Psychopaths also cost 15 million, but only grossed 29, which is odd for like a second film from a first one, which seemingly done quite well.
Yeah.
And then 3 Billboards also cost 15 million and grossed 162, but that was the Oscar bait film. That was like,
the
and Banshees, I can't really tell you a lot because it got a limited release because it
Yeah.
was straight to home
Yeah,
video. Oh, well, I say it wasn't VHS, but like, you know,
Yeah.
straight to streaming.
yeah.
And yeah, that when I saw that baffled me.
Mm.
It did baffle me a little bit. I can see what you mean by like, the style of it is a lot different.
Yeah.
The humor as well
Yeah,
is,
I think
for me, it's the lightest film of all
Yeah.
of them.
I think it has a lot of issues. Like, if you don't get what the joke is, you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we'll get into, as we go through these, we'll get into what Seven Psychopaths is. Again, it's the biggest outlier among these. If you don't get what the joke is, you're not going to enjoy it. If you haven't watched In Bruges, you're not going to enjoy it because you're just not going to get what's going on. I remember my media teacher at the time being like, well, I'm not going to watch that. If it's just Seven something, then that's just a parody of like Seven Samurai or whatever. And
Magnificent Seven.
it's like, yeah, that's the joke. It's
Yeah.
so much of this is an in
Because he's a
joke.
writer as well.
Yeah, and so much of this is an in joke. And if you're not into it, you are not like, that film isn't going to convince you.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm not surprised by those numbers at all.
Yeah.
Because I think I was waiting for a way to organically interject when you when you brought up the thing about the poster.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. It's probably because I was quite young. I think these films are incredibly hard, any of them, to sell to anybody.
Yeah.
100%.
If you are not, if
yeah.
you're not already swimming in these waters,
Yeah.
like you try and sell any of these to the average. Like I always sort of use my sisters as sort of like a canary in the coal mine, or like a litmus test maybe. Like they are what I would consider your like only go to the cinema once or twice a year to watch like a tentpole or a Disney film. They're open-minded. They're not like, oh, I'm not going to watch anything. If I tried to sell any of these films, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah.
And I think that
100%.
I think that the fact that any of these made their budget back
Yeah.
is pretty, like, how would you try and sell this to an elderly couple or something? Do you see what I mean? Like it's like
a lot of it, I think the difficulty of it is the themes.
But the
well, you
themes are
say that.
difficult.
You say that. This is why I think the Tarantino comparison is interesting, because Tarantino is like, I would say one of the most well-known filmmakers of all time. He gets spoken about on Twitter, TikTok on a daily basis. He's probably, I'm sure we can get like the numbers on this, but if you were to look at something like Letterboxd, he's probably the most logged director or up there. And he's, as we've already said, dealing with the exact same sort of style, sensibilities, themes, obviously to varying levels and to varying levels of success, right? But he's doing the same thing, and like, you can sell those films to people. I don't know why there's a difference. I don't know why one of them is
clearly,
extremely...
what you're saying then, Martin McDonagh films need more feet.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Or he needs to be in a film drinking from Salma Hayek's feet or whatever.
Oh, shit.
I think a lot of it is as well. So like Quentin Tarantino films are a lot of them are action films.
Mhm.
There is a lot of action
or
in
like passed off as like, you take the violence will still get you in the door, whereas the violence like feels good and looks good in a Tarantino movie. You come away from like the shootouts and stuff like, yeah, that was awesome. You don't come away from anything in a Martin McDonagh movie like, yeah, I feel good now.
yeah.
The one aside I will say, you said like, you know, how would you sell this to your average cinema goer? 3 Billboards did get sold to the average cinema goer. Like, that was really popular when we were working at the cinema. I remember people walking out of it because they were like, I'm going to go see that new Oscar winner. That's going to be a good, fun time. It's like, no, not for me.
So
which was interesting.
We'll jump into In Bruges first then. I'll just give you a quick overview. So after a job gone wrong, hitman Ray and his partner await orders from their ruthless boss in Bruges, Belgium, the last place in the world Ray wants to be. I think the first thing that you probably say about each of these films is what kind of they're all weirdly different types of comedy.
Yeah.
This is like a weird kind of vacation buddy kind of comedy in a weird way.
And again, we are using comedy in a very one of my big experiences with this film, if we're getting into like how we first saw it or whatever, after I was like, look, I need to tell people about this, I tried watching it with one of my friends. We were both drunk and like way late at night. No, this is a really funny film. Honestly, this is a really funny film. And then remembering, oh no, this starts with like a kid getting shot. Yeah. And my mate just being like, what the fuck are you doing?
I do think after rewatching all 4 of them, I looked at it in a different way. I
for
looked
sure.
at it, yeah, definitely.
I think again the comedy is the closest thing that can get you through the door.
Yeah.
Like these are not.
I think
These
that's
are
what
very
it's
sad
like
films
comedy.
at their heart.
A lot of the comedy I feel like is kind of used for a bit of relief.
Yeah, if you don't laugh at this, you
100%.
cry. And
Look where In Bruges is set.
yeah,
Like one of the most like picturesque places ever.
Yeah.
fucking fairy tale town.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got all this like horrendous shit going. Like
Yeah.
he's killed a kid. You see flashbacks of that. You see, no sort of cover of that. You see exactly what he did.
So like up to that point, it's all jokes. There isn't really anything. So like it's about 20-25 minutes in, and it's all just been like them arguing because basically Ray, or Colin Farrell plays Ray, Ken is played by Brendan Gleeson, and it's like he's the child.
Yeah.
And
He's just
Brendan Gleeson's and he's pouting, he's dragging his feet along. He's
in
like
the back of a canoe.
Yeah,
really
he just doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of thinking about, it's basically his first hit job, isn't it? Is to kill a priest.
And you see him kill or like it starts off with like, after I killed him, I threw the gun away. So you know that he's killed someone. You know this is something bad, and then you don't get the revelation. Like it then goes to the second flashback where you then see halfway
it's
through.
Horrible.
What and it's again, you're saying like about how stuff is shot. It doesn't pull the camera away. You just see it in a really like the like reaction is really grim.
So pretty much he's in the confession booth with the priest. He shoots the priest. Once the priest stands up, starts walking out, goes through a door. He then shoots the priest through the back, but obviously it goes through the priest and then hits an altar boy in the head.
Yeah.
Who this is what's fucking heartbreaking about it for me. I didn't really, because I hadn't watched it in a while, and I completely forgot, is the notes that the boy's holding a bit of paper and he's basically praying because he thinks he's sinned.
Yeah.
And the sin is, where is it? The sin is basically, please forgive me because I'm being moody, being bad at maths, and I'm being sad. And you're like, their kid has literally just gone to pray for nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with all of that. That is just a kid, but he doesn't know that. And then it's shot like, because up to that point everything's all fine and dandy. And then I think that's another trait within his films is there's always there's a mark in the sand where it goes, this isn't the type of film you think is going to be.
Again, it's why I give a lot of pass to a lot of the comedy. I think a lot of the jokes in the first like 5 minutes of this film don't really work. There's a lot of them trying to land jokes. And I do think this is a very fucking funny film with the amount that I will quote it in my life. But like the first 10-15 minutes where it's trying to write jokes isn't the thing. And once you realize that like, no, because this isn't that kind of comedy. And again, I give it a leeway for that because what it's actually trying to tackle is very heavy and very deep, and I think it is pretty good at that overall.
What did kind of freak me out, and I've seen it quite a lot of times, is how quickly from when you find out what Ray has done, how quickly you begin to root for Ray.
Yeah. It's weird. So I know exactly what I was literally going to make a point after is that when you watch the flashback and then they're on the park bench, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because he's about to kill himself.
Ken's shot with
Ken's been told that he's got to kill him, and then he's about to shoot himself and all stuff like that. And then afterwards, he's just like bawling his eyes. It was like, I've killed a kid. Like he knows what he's done. He's like, I've killed a kid.
Yeah,
I've killed a kid. And then, basically, because Ken's like, killing yourself is worse than being killed.
Yeah.
And Ken says, we'll save the next one.
Yeah.
And then you giggle at the fact that the line after that is, Ray goes, well, how am I going to do that? I'm not a doctor. You've got to take exams for that. And it's just like, after what you've just watched is horrific. And then he goes and writes something to try and lighten the load a little bit.
While also like taking the piss out of his silly little gun. And, like
But like he's like that Ray is a child. In this, he is a child.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, like for you, like you shouldn't really root for somebody that's killed a kid.
Again, it's his redemption. The film is his redemption story, and we're going to get into, I think we get to a later film.
Both of their redemption stories.
Definitely,
And again, I think like if we're going to talk about his themes, redemption is probably the big one here. Like again, as well as like Catholic guilt and that sort of general identity stuff. And again, we'll get into that a lot with a later film, but this one I think is very successful in asking for its character to be redeemed.
Because what's happened, the tragedy in the
film is so awful, but they make it work.
It's a weird question to ask, but like in a weird way, what were your standout? I'm gonna say what were your standout scenes, not what was your favorite, because it's hard to pick a favorite with the but like what was your standout?
Again, it's such a film of two halves for me. For me, I think the sequences towards the end, especially like the way that the ending of this film is handled, is very good and very emotionally resonant, and I think it works really well. For me, there are just so many jokes in this that
Give us one now. Go.
And the obvious one, like the you're an inanimate fucking object, for some reason that gets me way more than it should.
I wrote down
The alcoves, the alcoves. Did he tell you about the fucking alcoves?
So I wrote in my notes, Harry phone smash. He
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
quite. He does it quite pathetic.
Yeah.
You expect him to
And
just smash it, and it's just he keeps missing the
Yeah.
table.
But again, in that scene, when you look behind, it's Ray Fiennes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the backdrop is his garden, and everything is peaceful, and everything in
His
the
kids are
room has a
playing.
place.
Yeah.
You can hear his kids playing in the background, and then he just smashes the fucking
His
smashes
wife's
the
just
phone to
like-
pieces. Yeah.
What about you, Ollie? From your experience within Bruges,
I remember. I haven't seen. I think I watched this.
I was going to say we haven't even asked you your thoughts on In Bruges as a film yet.
I watched it once. Christmas time would have been 2019. I think it's after I'd seen 3 Billboards, and I remember particularly. I know it's already been said, and it kind of goes without saying, but I really enjoyed the scenery.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the coverage of the city and the architecture, and it does sort of take from what I can remember, again having only seen it once, so I might be incorrect, but from what I remember is it does take, and you're not like 100% consciously aware of it, but it does take its time to let you sort of what's the word I'm looking for, appreciate the visuals.
Yeah.
Like it's not like at a breakneck pace, and it does give you time.
It's very
to sort of-
leisurely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No. Yeah.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on, Charles.
I've got a few. Having been to Bruges,
Me too. I've been in that
I
square.
know, but
yes.
I
It's
have
weird
not
watching
done it, but I, like this is weirdly probably the most successful like tourist bait for
Yeah.
like
and
Bruges must have got way more popular because of this. I know like
I
several
went
people.
before the movie as well,
Uh-huh.
so like it is beautiful, like all the scenery in Bruges,
Okay.
but also suffocating.
like
Like, the little pubs that they go to,
they are. Yeah.
and just how it's quite a big place, but it seems really small.
The square is probably the biggest spacious bit in
Yeah.
in that town.
Yeah.
Because everything else, like you say, it was alcoves.
Yeah, it's the
fucking-
alcoves.
It's type alleyways. and shit.
Probably the most quotable out of all of his films.
Yeah.
My favourite quote is that one's for John Lennon.
Oh yeah, Yankee fucking. Yeah, that.
And the big one for me has always been, since the very first viewing, there is no wasted shots for me.
Yeah.
The main bit, and we've discussed this like
I think it's
previously.
what you messaged me, I think, as well.
There's a few. So when he's paying for the ticket to go up in the tower with coins,
Oh, that dickhead at the
and
fucking cash
the
till,
guy's
yeah.
like, no, like no.
It's five. It's like
He
I've got
has to-
€4.90. It's €5.
Yeah, €5. And he's like, well, fuck. And he has to put the coins back in his pocket. And then later on in the film, if he had, paid in coins, he wouldn't have been able to sprinkle them before he threw himself off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So context behind that bit is that basically Harry's come to Bruges
Yeah.
to kill Ray because Ken let him go, but he ended up being arrested because he punched it.
Yeah.
But it turns out he's Canadian, so
Yeah.
it was a waste of
Yeah.
a punch anyway.
Yeah.
And then Harry's gonna kill Ken.
Yeah.
So there's that my favourite speech. I don't think we
Well,
might
again,
have to add beeps into this
It's
one 'cause
it's another theme. Before we get into it, it's another theme that Harry is there because he's very much there's a rule set to this,
yeah.
and there's
Was it
we're
you
all-
have to stick to your principles? Is one
we're
of his
doing
main things.
shit things, but there are principles. You kill a kid, you don't just walk away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's going to. So they have that big sit down chat in the beer where he calls him a C word and says
the cunt fucking kids.
Yeah. The problem is, Harry, is
You're a
you're a cunt.
You're born a cunt.
You're born a cunt. You're always going to be a cunt. And if anything, you're going to become an even bigger cunt.
Yeah.
And probably have more of your cunt kids.
I
What do you just say? Retract that bit about Mark. And then he's that whole. That's my favorite little interaction out of that. Not just because it says a C word, but because it is.
It uses it
flows.
effectively though. Like.
So then he goes to take him up to the tower because he's like, we'll go up the tower because it's quiet up there, and so they're up there, and then he ends up shooting Ken in the leg, not killing him in the end because that speech that. He gives Harry about thank you for everything you've done for me because he helped find the person who killed his wife. That whole speech, the way Brendan does that is brilliant. Like, I absolutely love that speech that he gives. He gives it sincerely, honestly. It's not. He's not trying to like take the piss. He's genuinely like, I'm gonna die now. I'm just gonna leave it all on the floor. And then he finds out that obviously Ray is back in, so he shoots. So he shoots him in the neck. He climbs back up to the tower whilst Harry's running down. Like Charlie says, sprinkles the coins so that people move out of the way. And that splat is
I
dreadful.
remember. So I forgot that, and then when we rewatched it in the cinema, I remember like how fucking like visceral that is, and how like you basically see like his limbs fly off, like you're seeing ribs poking out the stomach, like it is.
I do remember putting that on. It was a staff show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I do remember now. Yeah.
We did that and Seven Psychopaths back to back in the build up to 3 Billboards.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so that is a and it plays out. Some of the bits play out really well. Like so there's this film set going on, and there's a dwarf in the show, but then they make him dress up as a child as part of the film. Yeah,
which is also like, isn't that the play is or the thing that is going on is kind of a remake of the paintings they're looking at, right? Or it's like. It's like there's a lot of circus stuff. Like the paintings they're looking at when they're in the art gallery is what Hieronymus Bosch stuff, or it's like, Descent into Hell or whatever. So as Colin Farrell is seeing it from that bit of like his last moments are sort of the gates of hell and seeing all that. Like there's a lot of the way that this film intertwines. Again, you mentioned. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
You mentioned the bit about how Brendan Gleeson is talking about his wife. Previously, the conversations around his wife come out of this weird drug-hazed bit where you're not entirely sure what bits you're meant to be laughing at and what bits you're meant to be shocked at. And again, then that leads back into it. This film intertwines everything into again, there's very little wasted space in this movie.
Another one is the bottle when they're sitting on the bench. So what would you do if someone came at you with a bottle? Yeah. He's like, well, a bottle. You've got to do.
It's a deadly weapon.
And then it's a deadly. And then at the restaurant. Where the woman comes at him with a bottle, he's like, a bottle! Yeah.
He just punches him once in the face.
Also, special shout outs to the shot, and this might be some of the bits that I find the funny. When he comes back, when Colin Farrell comes back after robbing a drug deal, and he's like, "You've got 6 bags of cocaine on you." No, 5 bags of cocaine on me, 1 bag in me. And then, can I have one of those? And then the shot of Brendan Gleeson
when he comes back in,
it's fucking wild.
It's like you speak to the dwarf and he's like prostituting. He's like, "Yeah, do you want to come do some drugs with me?"
And again.
He's just like fucking no. You can tell he just had a fucking whole bag. It's like,
so good.
Again, they're like how quickly he changes your expectations. So like the blank scene where you think it's a real gun, turns out it's not a real gun. Yeah. You think that the threat is over, but then he shoots him in the eyes with a blank.
Yeah.
The other one is when Brendan Gleeson goes to the top. Ken, isn't it?
Ken's Gleeson.
When Ken goes to the top, you think he's going to shoot.
Yeah.
Yes,
and that's and your expectations change again.
Yeah, the ending for this as well is quite spectacular.
Yeah.
So he's being chased. So Ray's being chased by Harry.
Yeah.
And then the dwarf that was in the school kids' clothing beforehand is on set. And
who hasn't noticed them multiple times because he was on ketamine. Yeah.
And it's basically a mirror image of what Ray did to the priest and the old boy is what Harry does to Ray and this dwarf who. He uses the head exploding bullets. Yeah, that's what he's got left.
Yeah.
Shoots through Ray and then obviously hits the dwarf in the head, but explodes his head, so he can't see that it's it's a dwarf.
Yeah,
he just sees a kid in or like what he thinks is a kid because of the school clothes.
Yeah,
and he's like looking. He's like, and even then like. Ray's trying to
tell him
it's not a kid and he's like you got to stick to your principles and then ends up shooting himself,
which is another throwback to when Ken and him are on the phone.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
When he's like, you've got a
So everything, the way it's written, everything is neatly intertwined, and
a lot of times this can feel like that style of writing can feel kind of chintzy or like it's trying too hard. It doesn't in this.
No.
It flows so naturally from one bit to the other. And then like the final scenes are then Ray kind of dying or sort of
We'll
that's
get through
left
it.
that's left open.
yeah,
isn't
and
it?
then like the snow falling because this is you're saying you watched this at Christmas. This is also a Christmas movie.
I was going
right?
to say I
In
had
a
another
way.
note that said I've got to add this to the non-Christmas Christmas films. Anything else you want to add, Ollie, to In Bruges? This is very strange. You being this quiet.
I know. It's bizarre.
Well, we'll get on.
I don't think I've been this quiet in my life.
Well,
Is there anything you want to ask us?
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, no, I mean, your passion is coming through. I have to say, so Three Billboards is the one that I know the most, and we'll obviously get into that when we talk about it. But I'm not. This is not. It's not a film I particularly love,
fair enough.
and it's like, it's not something that I ever really wanted to revisit. And then I watched it a few weeks ago, when we were originally going to record this episode, and I have thoughts on it. But if the other two are like Three Billboards, I don't think Martin McDonagh is a filmmaker that I'm going to love as much as you guys.
That's fair.
But again, that's
fine.
that's just my.
Oh no, I don't think anyone can love everything.
Yeah,
Do you know
for
what I mean?
sure. I think this was it's also, and again, especially in relation to Three Billboards, this was definitely someone that, again, because we put on a staff showing for that, and I was telling everyone, like, you got to watch this. This was also at the point of me then realizing, how different things, again, for a lot of the themes that this will go into, and I think this was a big turning point for me of just because I enjoy this is absolutely, if these are not films you don't want to watch, you shouldn't have to. Which again, I think this film is interesting. I also think if you don't want to engage in a lot of some of these things, I totally get that.
Yeah, completely agree. So we move on to Seven Psychopaths then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is I'll do a little synopsis. So a struggling screenwriter inadvertently becomes entangled in the Los Angeles criminal underworld after his oddball friend kidnaps a gangster's beloved Shih Tzu. Again, if we're trying to describe weirdly as a comedy, this is this was like the weird ensemble multi-story comedy. There's like 4 or 5 different things going all at once, and then you've got the psycho. What I really like about this is the little stories within it. The story,
they work really well. Like I actually want these films.
I really want the Quaker one, which turns out to be hard. So, by the way, the cast in this was so Colin Farrell plays Marty, Sam Rockwell plays Billy, Christopher Walken plays Hans. I think one of my favourite Christopher Walken performances of all time.
If anything is going to convince you,
it's
you
Christopher
give this movie
Walken in this. Honestly,
Christopher Walken in this is so good. His character is fantastic.
Isn't Harry Dean Stanton in it?
He is. Yeah. So he is the man in the hat.
Tom Waits is in it, being Tom Waits, who fucking kicks ass.
It's and then Billy, the big gangster, is Woody Harrelson.
Yep. One of the characters I was reading up about this. Apparently, Mickey Rourke was apparently supposed to be in it, and then left it because Martin McDonagh was an asshole.
Wow, Jesus!
But I would love to see the argument between those two.
I was gonna say, like, from everything that I know of Mickey Rourke, he seems to be one of the biggest prima donnas. Like, he's had like a bust up with almost every director.
I mean, the reason why his face is like that is because he was basically pissed off at Hollywood, so he did it out of spite. Can we do a Mickey Rourke? Okay, no, that's
we will at some point.
I would love to do a Mickey Rourke episode. He is insanely.
So yeah, again, I think we said before, this was his, I feel like, his step into Hollywood and being more lighthearted, trying to find an audience where, obviously, again, some of the themes in it and some of the imagery in this is quite shocking. It's not as shocking, I'd say, as in Bruges.
No.
But again, it's weirdly more lighthearted.
It's the outlier. I think when we were saying about like what was our first films, I remember at the time people being like, I had a friend who was like, oh, I really want to see it. It's like, oh, have you seen In Bruges? Like, no. It's like, this is probably the film where you have to at least, because, so if we talk about what this film actually is, you gave it the synopsis. This film is Martin, like, the main character is a struggling Irish film, right, named Marty, who is, had a really popular first film that was really critically acclaimed and is really struggling to write another one. And it's like, if you have no context for how this film got to be this, like,
This is quite.
you aren't going to get the joke.
It's
like,
quite a bit similar to our previous episode 10, Matrix Resurrections. There's a lot of it is
you need to know who the filmmaker
Yeah.
is to get it.
Yeah.
I think this, and so it turns out, again, spoilers, it turns out that as the film that they are writing in the film is the film you are watching. I think it's the most successful, for me, it's the most successful one of these. The other big two that stand out are Adaptation, which I really like, and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is also a movie. But it's, without the, I would be fascinated to see someone come into this cold, no idea what it is, no idea.
Oh,
Again,
no,
you still have the context though. I mean, like if you don't know who Martin McDonagh is, if you don't know, again, if you don't get that joke already,
I do feel like you don't really need to know that.
I don't know. I feel like so much of this is an in-joke. So much of this is.
I don't know. Like I think what really works about it is that it is a load of little stories.
Yeah.
There's no mass plot. There's no real big end game. Like even like you would think it's
But
about helping Marty write a screenplay, but in the end he doesn't even
Again,
really.
I would say so much of it though leans into that. So much of it is like a joke about how they're struggling and taking the piss out of the writing that you're reading that then doesn't go anywhere. And again, if you don't know that it's being written by the main character, basically, I don't know if any of that just feels disappointing or just like too, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Go on, Charles.
I think this film's, for me, I had to watch it a good few times before I got it.
yeah. Again, I think I know people that only watched it once and were like, it's rubbish. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, there's more to it than
Yeah.
it's the bits that are rubbish are supposed to be rubbish, which
What-
is a weird cop out sometimes.
Yeah, and what I
but-
still struggle with this is that it's really hard to make a film when you're like all of the other work has such a strong location,
Mhm.
and I feel like everyone has seen an LA movie,
Yeah. Yeah. That
and
makes
to
sense,
find kind of places, and I've listened to interviews with Martin McDonagh and about locations for an LA movie,
Mhm.
and really struggling because everyone's seen everything.
Yeah.
It's really hard to shoot a film in LA and people not recognize things. The architecture's, newer.
Yeah.
There's no sort of buildings like Bruges.
And to a certain extent, I think it then ends up leaning in on that. It uses that
Yeah.
iconography really well.
But from the very start of the film, you've got those two hitmen talking about etiquette.
yeah. Which
Um,
the guy on the left, I don't know if any of you've seen Men in Black 3.
I haven't seen that one.
The guy on the left is the alien guy with the
Yeah.
nucleus in his head. And I was looking at him I was like, I reckon it, because Ashley said, oh, he looks like a weird version of Joaquin Phoenix. I was like, he does. And then I was trying to figure out, anyway, that was a completely weird side story.
Is that the alien that does the really uncomfortable French kiss at the start? There is a scene at the start of MIB3 that freaked me out as a
He's
child.
the one that they find him at the baseball stadium.
Oh yeah,
And he's got the hat on.
Yeah, I know.
He's got the hat
I know.
on.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I know the one you're about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
While we're doing weird Men in Black asides, don't know if this makes it into the final edit, but ever wonder what happened to the guy that played the alien with the balls on his chin in Men in Black 2? Like, that's my main takeaway from that film is he's a bull chinian. Will Smith pulls down a scarf and punches him in the
balls.
testicles.
Went up
They're on
into
his
his
face.
throat,
I just want to know, does that guy have other credits? If you are the bull chinian, please write in. Anyway, Men in Black 2 aside.
I've forgotten where we're at. Oh, yeah. So the two guys at the beginning just having a conversation, randomly about etiquette.
Yeah.
And then the Jacko Diamonds
Yeah.
comes behind and shoots them both.
I fucking love Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell in
Rockwell's
this
so
is
good in
fucking
this.
brilliant. He is so good. But to be honest, he's really good in that and in 3 Billboards.
Everyone
and
in
they're
this
completely different characters.
Everyone in this is, like, again, it's impressive that every actor knew exactly what they're going
Yeah.
for. Because, again, so much of this could not work if the performance, was by someone that didn't get what the joke is.
Yeah.
And again, they lean into, you already know who they are as actors. Again, Christopher Walken is very much Christopher Walken in this.
Yeah.
But it's perfect.
So Christopher Walken for me in this film is my favourite out of all the performances. He's my favourite just because he flickers between being a sweet, funny old man to being like he pulls his face. So when Ray is telling the story of the Quaker, which turns out to be
this
Hans,
is the bit we're talking.
right? And he's listening to the story, and Sam Rockwell comes back and says, "Oh, why are you telling me that story? Why are you telling that story?" And he's like, "No, let him finish.
Yeah.
And then he finishes the story, and then he pulls his cravat out, and he sees that he's a Quaker, and he just looks at him, and he goes, "That's
Good
a pretty
story.
good story.
Yeah.
Did you write that all by yourself?" And he looks at him like he's gonna jump across the table and fucking kill him.
Oh, it's so
Like he
good.
just switches in between
It
them both.
is so good.
And then the next thing, they're in the car, and he's telling about like he's all jolly again.
Yeah.
It's just the way he switches
It's fantastic.
is brilliant.
Again, the Quaker story is so
The
good.
Quaker story is
like
brilliant.
I would for what you could take small movies within the movie and do that just as a complete punchline and a complete nothingness. Like the actual, like the bit when. How much are we saying here without again? So the Quaker story within it, if we are okay to just spoil this, essentially.
Yeah, no. This podcast is if like there will be
essentially the first. So Marty is writing a film that's going to have 7 psychopaths in it. And he's trying to come up with ideas for who these psychopaths are going to be. And the one main one that he keeps coming back to is the idea of this Quaker. So he starts telling the story where you think the guy that's murdered the Quaker's daughter is a psychopath. But then it turns out that the Quaker knows that he has murdered.
He's
this guy has
stalking him,
killed.
isn't he?
Yeah, so he just starts stalking him basically. I think the guy goes to prison for it and then comes out.
a reformed Christian.
Yeah, and
or
is
something
like
that,
trying to be a better person, and yet still there's this Quaker just standing and looking at him. And he never goes away. And so eventually he just gets done with it. So he goes to so one night he's just like, I can't get away from what I've done. Pulls out a razor blade and like kills himself looking at the Quaker who's down watching him through the window. And so the Quaker then pulls out his own blade.
So the context behind that is that in the religion he says basically that rapists go to heaven, murderers go to heaven, but the people that only go to hell are those that kill themselves.
Yeah.
So he kills himself.
So he forces
and
him to kill himself and then
the Quaker,
follows him there.
And then the Quaker's like, well, if you're going to hell, I'm going with you, and then cuts his throat.
And that
which
is
such
so
a good
fucking
story.
good. Like that is a great story on its own, and then it's revealed later on that this is a story that this was like he's
Hands?
yeah, is then like basically correcting him on it of like, well, no, obviously I didn't die. It's
my wife was black and our child
Yeah.
was black. Like you missed
Yeah.
those bits out. I really like the points. Like he goes to mention like interracial couples is quite a thing that runs apart from Banshees, because that is just all Irish. Each three of these films has interracial couples in it, which I really like. But it's not blown into your face. It's just it's just that's the stand. It's just that's it. There's nothing really mad about it. You don't need to kind of blow it up to be a thing. It is how it should be. But he explains that his wife and his daughter were black, and she was helping him do it.
Yeah, it's such a good it's a great revenge story on its own, and it is so weird to me to think that this film probably came out of a degree of writer's block that Martin was probably having at the same time. If I had to
100%.
assume anything, it's like, no, dude, you wrote it. Like, give me that movie.
So one of the other stories is that Billy, Sam Rockwell's character, puts an ad in the paper for he's like, call it all psychopaths, and it's just him reading it out. It sounds brilliant, and they're just walking past his house.
Tarantino bit, I think, in terms of that use of like very quick cutting to see it, the like voiceover, what have you.
So then when they're walking past Marty's house, there's this guy just sat outside stroking a bunny. Yeah, Tom Waits stroking a bunny. It's like, and he is that again. That the way he tells that story, he's just sat there and he's like, I'll have tea. He's like, coffee, tea, coffee, tea. And just like, okay. And then he tells that story, and again, it's a. I feel like I've kind of heard the serial killer killing story before. I don't but the killing in that scene is fucking horrible.
As he's watching him hack up that hippie, which is actually the Zodiac killer.
The Zodiac killer. But like the last one where like they find that they use these gigantic, look like fucking Crocodile Dundee knives into the guy's hands and then just set him on fire, and he's just rocking there. Like those two people, like those two serial killers are fucking horrible. Like those killings are.
But again, they like so the story behind that, he's like Tom Waits was a. He's like a petty thief, basically. He just broke into someone's house and then found out that the judge that he broke into was like a pre-segregation piece of shit who was just like holding this woman in his basement. And then so he freed her and they killed the judge, and then they fell in love and just went on this. But again, if you're going to talk
killing spree,
if you're going to talk about like Tarantino and stuff, this is a bit like Natural Born Killers, whatever. Like there's that sort of romance to it. And again, it's like funny, but there's a pathos to it. Tom Waits is constantly stroking this bunny rabbit. So how much do we know about Tom Waits? Just in terms,
Not
you guys
much.
know. So
His voice always reminds me of
So you ever listen to any
what's
ever listen to his albums? So he's a
No.
musician.
Yeah,
before.
I've listened to a handful,
He's so
and then the first time I ever really knew who he was when he was in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
yeah.
He's the lunatic
In terms-
Renfield, isn't he? So.
In terms of musicians who turned into actors, for me, he is okay again because he's still a musician primarily, but he knows what the bit is, and he's always as himself. And yeah, just perfect. Just
who's the right. So I have to get this out. I have to get this out of my head. Hulk film, the Ang Lee one.
Mm-hmm.
Who plays Hulk's dad?
Because
Because their voices, I always get them too mixed up because,
Guy,
because of the voices
Sam
sound very
Elliott.
similar. Not Sam Elliott. That's Thunderbolt Ross.
no, but Sam Elliott is also in that.
The guy that basically he can consume energy.
Yeah.
But he's really famous. But them two could,
Yeah.
right, Ollie, think about that. Karen, what are you gonna say?
Anyway, if the other takeaway is down, you should listen to some Tom Waits albums
I
if you
will
like
now,
that
yeah.
man's voice. I believe it was once described as him sounding like he was his voice has been hung up in a whiskey shed for a week.
Yes.
Spent a month smoking cigarettes and then was run over by a truck. And that's perfect. That's who Tom Waits is. It's great.
And
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte.
Wow.
That's
I should have known.
Yes,
I'm so sorry.
No,
But
you're-
yeah, those two,
yeah.
due to the voice,
Yeah.
they're very similar, gravelly, kind of
Yeah.
like sound like a really rough voice. I always get them two a little bit mixed up. Not that it means
But yeah,
anything
great
to do with-
character
yeah.
in it. Like works as a great character actor. Again, the more you know about him as a person, the better it works. Fantastic.
He's also one of the few. I mean, like you think about musicians and actors in 2025. How many of them can you actually talk about that haven't been involved in some horrendous
Mm.
No,
scandal?
Tom Waits genuinely seems like an
He's-
angel.
He seems like a lovely guy, and he's an actor and a musician.
Yeah.
So there's like double the
Yeah.
chances for him to have done something heinous over his
Yeah.
over his careers. But no,
No.
he seems like a really nice guy.
One of the
like-
coolest motherfuckers on
I
the
like
planet.
it.
Anyway,
I like at the end when he's told him the story
yeah,
and he's like, "Can you do me a favor? Can you tell?" Basically, he's trying
Yeah.
to find his wife, isn't
yeah,
he?
that is what he's using it
And
for.
he's like,
is
"Can
to-
you just put a message up to say that I'm looking for you?" Like all that stuff, and then and then
The
he's like,
post-credit
and, he's
scene,
like-
yeah.
and then there is a missing scene.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's not missing,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
post credit scene where he calls him up. Is like, basically,
I like the
where
film,
the
but why
fuck
was I?
where's my message? And he's just like, oh
then-
shit.
but then, and he's like, yeah, because I told you I'd killed you if you didn't. But then again, if you get into the levels of meta into it, the message makes it into the film.
Yeah,
So
it does, yeah.
What are we thinking for best moments of Seven Psychopaths?
it's the graveyard scene that isn't a scene.
Oh,
but the one-
Billy's montage of.
and then he pulls out a fucking crossbow and his head explodes.
I really like
Blah!
that bit in that. I really like his where he's doing an impression of Martin. He goes, "Oh, Billy, how are you? You're my best pal." And he's just like that bit, and then Hans comes out of the graveyard with two guns. He just and his
Yeah.
Hans comes out like the fucking Dracula. That scene.
Again, like my favorite moment is something that they allude to earlier in the film with Woody Harrelson's gun not firing,
Yes, yep.
and then the penultimate scene
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Shall we quickly just say about I think one of the characters we haven't really talked about, one of the main ones is Woody Harrelson
Yeah.
as
So he's like this.
He's fucking
Billy.
perfect.
Yeah, he's
because
this-
he's a goofball, but he can go off the fucking handle
Yeah.
whenever he wants.
Yeah.
and loves his Shih Tzu.
Just
I just want my dog. Pull yourself together.
man.
Why do you like Woody Harrelson in that role?
I'm a fucking Woody Harrelson fan, so it was all about fucking. I think he plays bad good. He plays insane even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little bit of Mickey vibes I got from it. Like
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, just
He's brilliant. Yeah.
He's very
He's
good,
he's one of my favorite actors of all time.
He is really. Yeah. He is. I think the fact as well that another contradiction at the end where they're all in the desert and he's waiting for this big shootout. No shootout,
Yeah.
and he ends up getting his big shootout. When he's like, I told him not to bring a gun or to
Yeah.
come alone, and he actually does.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson is the least gang leader
Yeah.
of gang
Yeah,
leaders he could be,
100%.
but he's still he can be scary at some points.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite moments is just the Christopher Walken saying "fuck the cops."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
And he just goes,
Fuck
"Fuck 'em."
is so good.
Yeah, and I'm just like every time I'm just like
Yeah,
That's my guy.
Another one of mine is like Sam Rockwell trying to explain how to do a gunfight. And put your hands up. No.
Why not? I don't want to.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
honestly, Christopher, I think if I was to pick a favourite thing, it's anything with Christopher Walken in
Yeah.
that when he
Oh,
goes and
man.
finds his wife has been shot and he's just
Yeah,
like,
if you think of like the backstory of his character,
Yeah.
it's the only one that you like. No one really has one, but when you
Yeah.
look at Christopher Walken, it's such a deep and emotional backstory
Yeah.
that you really give a fuck about
Yeah.
like what happens.
Yeah.
And
I think as well, my favourite scene out of all of them is the end scene where Christopher Walken's talking into the tape and basically trying to solve the writing
Yeah.
issue that Marty has, where he's like, I think that it's basically, the other Psychopath story is about this Vietnamese priest who basically
Yeah.
goes to America to blow up these soldiers that killed his family in a village. And he's like, it's kind of too violent. You don't want, and he didn't
Yeah.
want the violence thing. So he basically explains to him, like, you could like do it this way. And it basically talks about, I think it's actually a true story, that
Or so yeah,
the
it ends up.
Vietnamese person who set himself on fire because
Yeah.
of the Vietnamese
Yeah,
war.
it leans it. So it's the. I would have expected you to know that. That's the dude on the front of the Rage Against the Machine
Yes,
cover.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but yeah. So yeah. Again, it ends up as him then trying to rewrite it as, what if instead of it ending in violence, it's a redemption story?
Yeah.
Which again is both in Bruges, is what we will
Yeah.
see in the later films, and also what the film itself then ends up
Yeah.
being. Was much as Sam Rockwell doesn't want it to be, he wants it to be guns and
yeah.
Right, so out of all these films, I must say, is probably the most you're going to hear the Magic C-bomb all the time.
Oh yeah.
Just like Sam Rockwell in the first 5 minutes, and Marty's girlfriend walks out and he's like, why? And he's like, because you're a cunt.
Yeah.
That's like 2 minutes into the film. You're like, what?
And like the language used in all of his films is very
It's
un-PC.
grotesque. Yeah.
again we're
And-
gonna.
I might have. Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
like flipping back to in Bruges very, very quickly, it starts with, if I was retarded and think I might find Bruges interesting, something along those
Yeah,
lines.
like I
Um,
think those bits work. I think that was when I was saying, like, when this film is cutting jokes in its first
Yeah.
like 5 minutes, I think at that point it hasn't earned that.
Yeah.
And then once you get familiar with his films, it does, like, you realize that this is not a comparison that I think could be made quite a bit is South Park, and how, like,
Yeah.
using this sort of language to shock or to to shock or offend or whatever, and there is actually reason to use this language beyond that in his films.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just there as a throwaway.
And they even tried to explain it during the little people scene where he's like, well, what do you expect? He tried to kill himself. When you go your whole life being called a dwarf when you want to be called
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that. So when he ends it, and so obviously he's talking to the. I didn't realize. I found it in my notes from when we were supposed to do this like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's talking into the tape recorder,
Yeah.
and inside the Blu-ray is a leaflet advertising a tape recorder. I was like, that's a nice little. But I don't
That's
think
a
I don't know
nice
if they
little-
meant it or not. It's
Oh,
weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's odd.
I have to
Wow.
catch it again.
Yeah. Any last bits that you want to add?
Not
Seven Psychopaths.
Seven Psychopaths.
No. Are we all?
Again, I think so. There's a twist in the middle that we haven't, or we've kind of alluded to. The first psychopath is actually the seventh
Oh, yes.
psychopath.
Yeah.
The guy who is just
Jack
a
of
pratful.
Diamonds.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy who's just a pratful idiot is also the serial killer that you see throughout most of the movie. It's great. You should watch it. No,
This is probably the one you should watch if you want to get into Martin McDonagh. This is probably the toe
again,
dip
that,
in.
that would be the one that I would disagree.
No.
Like, I feel like so much of it you need to know. Well, again, we spoil what the joke is, but this is the most Hollywood. It's the most different from the rest of his films. It's great.
We forgot to mention the whole an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, and I believe that wholeheartedly. And he's like, no, it doesn't. There's gonna be one guy with one eye. You can just hide behind a bush or something. Like, just those little fucking stupid jokes are just brilliant. Sorry, you were gonna say something, Charles.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Sorry, I apologize.
It's on Disney Plus. That's what I was going to say.
Yes, on Disney Plus,
easily
as
accessible.
As
of
at the
today, yeah.
Bruges is off of Prime.
Here we go then. As a meter reading, Ollie, have we convinced you to give Seven Sight? Has the love of Christopher Walken in this film?
I was going to say,
Not to put you on
Tom,
the
Tom
spot.
Waits and
Nick Nolte.
So no.
oh no, Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
I didn't know either of them were in it until today.
Mhm.
So especially like Harry Dean Stanton. There's not enough films.
Oh, one of the greatest of all time.
Exactly. So like, if there's anything of his that I haven't seen, I'm eager to watch it. I will definitely. This is the thing. I don't want people to. If anybody is listening, I don't want anybody to think that I'm not very literate, and it doesn't really help that we have cine literate. Doesn't help that this is coming off the back of me and Dan spending 2.5 hours talking about Cape shit. I don't want people to think that's the only sort of stuff that I like. It's like popcorn blockbusters and like tentpole IPs and stuff. The Seven Psychopaths totally does on paper sound like my jam.
Mhm.
It's just I don't really enjoy Three Billboards, so with that being my only real impression. Again, in Bruges I've seen, but I wasn't like enamored by it, and I've only seen it the once, and it wasn't under like the best viewing circumstances. I haven't really been like rushing out to watch the other two after Three Billboards.
Mhm. Also fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which
like-
we will explain in a minute.
Yeah, again, I don't think as much as we encourage you to watch it, also, like encourage people to watch the films that
Yeah,
we're
like, it
passionate
might
about
be
here,
a
like what you like.
You might be hearing this and it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so should we
Again,
move on
all
to Three?
opinions, very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Three Billboards, by far his most successful film. So a couple of just the numbers. Cost 50 million, gross 162. So for the Oscars, it won Best Actress for Frances McDormand and Best Supporting Actor for Sam Rockwell. It also had Woody Harrelson down as Best Supporting Actor as well.
Mm-hmm.
But so it won the Best Actress and Supporting Actor. It was also nominated for Best Motion Picture, Writing, Editing, and Music. And then for BAFTAs, it won Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Screenplay, Best British Film, and it also won Best Film, beating Dunkirk, Shape of Water, Dark Hour, and Call Me by Your Name.
I was gonna say 2017 was a stacked year.
It's gonna-
Some really really good films in that lineup.
I didn't. So I can't remember what won Best Picture for Oscars that year.
That was Shape
Shape
of
of
Water.
Was it
wasn't
Shape of
Yeah.
Water? But yeah, so it won best film and British film for BAFTAs. So yeah, really well. I don't know where to start. Who wants to start? Kick this one off because this is
again. This is the one that I think is the most difficult to talk about. I think it's the one that we have the most probably like there is a lot to say about this that
I feel like the themes in this there are a lot more kind of political.
yeah,
or
I think I tried saying it a couple times. Like, we're not a political podcast because as much as anything else, you can listen to better people that, like, firstly, that's just not what we're doing. I think you've probably, if you're listening, probably worked out who we are and what we believe anyway. But, you know, that's not typically what we go into. We're going to have to touch upon some elephants in some rooms with this one. I think it was a film. If we start with like our experiences watching it, for me, this was the film that I was most excited about the year it came out. I remember like basically shaking Charlie of holy shit, have you seen that trailer? There's a new Martin McDonagh movie. You need to see this trailer or whatever. I saw it I think 3 times in the cinema.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
It was once as a staff showing, once with a friend, and then once I think with another friend.
we did get to go for free.
Yeah, also you watch a lot of films for free when you work at cinema is the main takeaway from that. For me, in terms of personal experience, this was a film I loved at the time I watched it, and I still think is a very good film for what it is trying to be. I think the more I spoke to other people about it and the more the climate in the world was at the time, I think this is a film that I've cooled on over the years. I think it's a case of it is trying to make some very interesting points but made them at the wrong time. Probably, arguably, the wrong voice to make them. Again, as much as that's going to be, again, we're all being very aware of who is saying this. You know, to cover a film about racism at this time, again, I think this was a rough film in 2017. If you're watching it under that context, I think it's a very rough film to go back to in 2025. As much
Yeah.
as I think it's again, I've said before in this that I think he always had good intentions, and the idea of this redemption story, which I guess we'll get into it, there is a through line of this that is about a racist cop being redeemed and whether he can be a hero, I think is an interesting story to try and tell. I think the wrong person to tell it at the wrong time is my feelings, probably where I'm at now. Still find it very funny at certain points.
So just to give a bit of background of what the story is. So Frances McDormand, she has lost her daughter to she was basically raped and murdered.
Yep.
Or as the Billboards say, raped whilst dying, which is just
very brutal.
Very
Yeah,
brutal.
a very hard thing to
in
read.
big red. So she has basically put these billboards up to challenge the local authority to say, why haven't you solved her murder? Because the murder's unsolved.
Yeah.
So that's the main storyline of her basically antagonising the local authority to find out, do more to find my daughter. But then, like you say, there's all these little stories. You've got the whole the racist cop with Dixon, played by Sam Rockwell.
You've got the main cop, who's then played by Woody Harrelson, who is then also gets cancer halfway through the film and is going through his own stuff. It is trying to tackle a lot, and again, at first, my very enjoying the film part of it was, wow, I'm so glad that it's trying to do this. It's trying to take on these themes or whatever. Again, over the years, I've probably got more like, probably shouldn't have in some respects.
In terms of the cop, the racist cop, and
again,
the abuse
right,
of power.
Like again, in terms of one thing that, as we've talked about his writing, like he's a very funny writer. He is very so like the first scene when you find out who Sam Rockwell's character is. How's the N-word torturing business going? Yeah. It is done in a way that, again, at this point does shock you. This is one of the scenes that you could look at the most of, like, is he just trying to provoke for the sake of provocation? Is it trying to be offensive for the point of? And it does elicit a laugh, whether that is you're laughing at how acerbic and how quick and punchy the dialogue is, or whether that is, you're laughing through sheer nervousness and uncomfortableness. Again, it still has his humour in it, which again I think makes it a tougher pill to swallow in terms of is it trying to have its cake and eat it by covering very heavy themes while also then giggling and chuckling out the side of its face.
Comedy. Yeah. What about, so this for you, Ollie, this is one of the two that you've seen. So what is it about this film that doesn't quite hit it for you? Is it the comedy aspect? Is it the themes?
Obviously you have the Sheriff Willoughby character, and I do really like Woody Harrelson in this film, and it's one of my favourite performances.
We had a chat about it yesterday.
And he has a really, really good chemistry with Frances McDormand, and one of the things I was shocked about when I rewatched it recently was just how quickly he dies in the film.
It's like halfway through, isn't it?
And I remember him being like much more of a mainstay, and it sort of caught me off guard, and he only really has 3 scenes with Frances McDormand, and then has his sort of like I apologise, my phone is ringing, so if you can hear some I only just clocked that now. I'm really sorry. That's really amateur of me. Hopefully it's not been picked up that massively in the track.
No.
But anyway, he's really good. But aside from him, and he dies off halfway through the film anyway, there is not a single likable character in this entire film. And I think they are all just really repulsive and nasty. And I know that that's the point, but I don't want to spend 2 hours of my life with these people that don't deserve redemption. And ultimately, I don't like the central mystery for me becomes far bogged down and disjointed, and sort of you almost forget about what's going on. And I get that that's the point, and it's but it kind of loses its pace halfway through, and the introduction of the Dixon character and his mum and that sort of stuff, it sort of goes off track and then kind of half-heartedly brings it back together at the end, and I don't really think it's a cathartic payoff for anybody involved. I think Frances McDormand's character is vile. I actually really, really don't like her, and the scene that got it for me was the conversation that she has with her daughter. I was like, that for me, that in the cinema when I was 17, I liked it a bit more than I did, but when upon watching it recently, I kind of checked out at that point. I was like, I don't. There is enough in all of our lives at the moment. There is enough miserable stuff going around. I don't want to be watching a mother shouting that she hopes her daughter gets raped and murdered at her the night that her daughter gets raped and murdered. I was just, this is
Yes.
unpleasant. This is not
that was
nice.
that was for me, like we said about. There's a shocking moment in each film that flips over, and that for me, even though it wasn't a violent one, it was what she said.
Yeah.
It drops your heart because you're like, why have you said that? And then obviously what follows suit is dreadful.
And again, I think that's when you realise that a lot of this, again, the putting up of the billboards, this is a much more personal story of her just trying to sort of sort through her own trauma. And again, I think it is, again, I personally do think it is a really good exploration of that. Again, I can totally, your viewpoint, I would not disagree with a single point you made there, though all of those are pretty spot on, I would say.
I think the only person that is possibly a little bit likeable, but even there's a little bit seedy, is Peter Dinklage's character.
Oh my god! So
I was trying to remember why he was in it. That I've not seen it in a while, and I can't remember what
But he just fancies Frances McDormand. I forgot Mildred. He fancies her, and he's trying to get her on a date and all this stuff. And he says all these like just little things. And it's when she sets fire to the police station, and Dixon's in there, and he comes out and he walks down the corner and sees Dixon's on fire, pats him out, and then he basically just covers for Mildred, saying that she was with me the whole time. And he's like, "Will you go on a date with me?" Kind of uses it as he's used someone getting really burnt alive as a way of making someone feel guilty to then go on a date with him. And the
Dixon character, right? This is the big elephant in the room. He is so absurdly drawn that it kind of, that to me is where it's I don't really understand what McDonagh was trying to say there, because he's like a man child with he's barely functioning, and you try and think to yourself, this is obviously a farce. There is absolutely no way in this man would be in the real world capable of like getting himself dressed in the morning, let alone going to work as a police officer. But then at the same time, you're trying to use him as a mirror to talk about race relations in then contemporary 2017 America. It's like, you can't have this absurd clown cartoon of a character be your vehicle through which you're trying to and talk about police brutality. It doesn't mesh for me. It doesn't work. Sam Rockwell's, like you say, he's funny. Yeah, he's funny. He has good chops in this. Whether or not, again, it's unpleasant. It's uncomfortable. You can't help but laugh like that. That scene. I was saying, you can't call it that torture no more. But it's just it's really jarring for me. The whole thing. I struggle to enjoy any of it. I will say the one bit I do like, and I think I've said this on an episode before, I really don't like, there is something about the young man who is also in Get Out, who plays Red.
You said
Caleb Laundry Jones.
Oh,
there is something about Caleb Laundry Jones. I'm sure he's a lovely guy in real life. There's no disrespect for him personally, but there is just something about his face that I don't like for some reason.
I really love that he has leaned into that. Like, if you are going to get a weird little guy in your movie, it is basically him.
I think he's also Banshee in X-Men First Class.
He is.
He also released like a really dark folk album on a very that's he's fully leaning into the bit, and honestly I can't hate him for it. Like, he knows, and fair play.
So the scene where Dixon throws him out the window and then pistol whips his secretary who calls him a pig, he's just like that scene caught me off guard in the cinema. Again, it's bizarre.
It's all one shot, isn't it?
It's kind of funny. Like, I can't help but laugh, but I don't like Caleb Laundry Jones, so seeing him get thrown out the window.
I found that scene uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I didn't laugh at it. I think I laughed when he was walking off, and then the Abercrombie, the new cop that comes in, he's like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" kind of thing. Doesn't realise, nobody knows who he is yet, and then he walks into the police station, and then the bit that makes me laugh is where he goes, because every single police officer in that precinct is white, and he's like, "Haven't any of you crackers got some work to do?" And then Dixon goes, "That's racist, isn't it?" I'm just like, yes. Dixon is his moral compass. He doesn't really have what he's just. He's a child.
So this is not the first time I've said this, but do we know the theory about and again, I don't think it works. I think if this is the get out of jail to get you to like this character more, do we know the thing about people thinking that Sam Rockwell is gay in this?
No, not heard that.
You didn't know that?
I've heard that.
And again, it's painted really terribly. If this is how he's Martin McDonagh is trying to pass it across. He does it by making him listen to ABBA. Like, the reason why he doesn't notice that the building sets on fire is because he's too busy dancing to ABBA.
Yeah.
But then there's also the bit when his mother is like, oh, you were always different. The idea is, and again, in terms of if it is trying to justify his actions, which again, I don't think it does, but the idea, at least theorized, I don't know if Martin has ever put it into fact, but the idea is that he is over compensating with the manliness, with the racism, all of this, because he's a gay guy who's working in fucking small town America police station.
Jeez.
Again, so like his mother is like, oh yeah, you were never quite white. You were.
I can see that angle.
And again,
explained it.
I don't think it works. I don't think it lets you off. I don't think you can trade one minority for another.
I never got that impression from watching.
I have heard that theory before.
I don't think you can do. Again, I don't think you can then play it. If you're going to do it, then don't play it as a joke and don't use fucking ABBA, because that's in and of itself a bit ridiculous.
Is that one?
Yeah, it's Chikatilo, I believe.
I will say there is one bit that does get me when I watch it that makes me like actually piss myself because obviously Sam Rockwell is, again, I think he's wearing headphones or something, and he's like, what? He's the last one to find out that Willoughby's killed himself. And Cedric breaks the news to him, and then it cuts to the bathroom, and like Cedric is sobbing on his shoulders, and then the camera turns, or they turn in the mirror, and it's actually him, and he's like holding on to him, he's like, and he goes, "You gonna pass out again, or can you stand up on your own?" And he's just like crying like an actual baby. I mean, I know it's off the back of a really sad sequence, but like it never fails to get a laugh out of me. I don't know why. I think it's just something in Sam Rockwell's just he's like blubbering insanely, and it gets me every time. Maybe I'm the only one that found that.
I really like the exchange between Mildred and Dixon when they arrest her. So she works at the shop, and her friend gets arrested because she has like 2 specimen or whatever. She just walks and goes, "Hey, fuckhead!" And then the other cop's like, "You can't, Dixon, stop letting her call you a fuckhead." And he's just like, and then he's like, "I'll do what I want." And then he sits down and he's like, "How can I help you, ma'am?" And he's just like,
the fuckhead bit then comes back later, right, with the kid throwing the shit at the car, and it's like, "Fuckhead, which one are you?" I think that for all of its stuff that I think it handles quite poorly, I think it is quite an interesting perspective on the way that and where it was kind of ahead of the game is the idea that no matter how useless and again, we're talking about this in the context of the film here, the police are pretty useless. They're not doing what they need to do to the reason why Mildred goes to this extent, but then there is still so many people in this community but you can't insult them. You can't have an issue with, just because they haven't found the person that, murdered your child, there is still an air of them being held up above everyone else, and this being a film that one of its themes is trying to challenge that. Again, does that then, if you're then trying to play that in terms of, well, do you need to feel sympathy for them? Is having one of them get cancer and die of cancer a too easy way to play the sympathy in that? Again, I think the more you watch, the more you think about it, the more the ways that it tries to get you to like these characters are a bit on the nose. But again, I think it's another theme that is trying to cover again. Like I said, if people don't think that it hits the themes that it's trying to cover well, like mostly agree, to be fair.
I haven't actually thought about it on those terms, but you're actually really I completely agree. And the way that they construct the central mystery, he could have gone, if he wanted to be a lot more black and white about it, he could have made the inciting incident a lot less murky, because obviously one of the reasons why you do by the end of the film or by the middle of the film start to think, well, hang on a minute, maybe there is a possibility that she has gone too far insulting this man personally, calling him out, is when Willoughby comes over and says, look, we have tried, it's not like we've not looked into this, it's an incredibly difficult situation where there's an incredible lack of physical evidence the guy was passing through. We've done as much as we physically can without invading personal privacy and breaking laws and things like that.
Yeah.
And she can't really wrap her head around it, and she says, well, there should be a database and we should do this. And he's like, yeah, but they could have made it a lot less murky. Yeah. And also the fact that Frances McDormand's character herself, as I said, is vile. She's not a nice person. They could have made her way more sympathetic and made the daughter way more sympathetic, because the whole family...
Even the husband's horrible.
Yeah, there is not a single likeable character in this film other than Willoughby, and he dies off far too early. And even then, I suspect like if there's probably an alternate draft sitting in one of Martin McDonagh's files somewhere where Willoughby doesn't die off, or maybe the Willoughby character is merged with Dixon or something, and you get to see more of Willoughby, and he's not as clean cut because you only get to see him for 3 scenes. I don't know, but I didn't think about it on those terms. Like they do, by the end of it, like they don't come down on any side of you should feel 100% sympathy for this party and agree for this party or against this party.
I think if I can cut in, I think that is one of the things that then makes it a difficult film to watch, is because it is trying that. And I've been thinking about this a lot because obviously Gene Hackman and that stuff, like the French Connection is a film about a racist piece of shit cop, but there's no attempt to ever get you to like him. And I think that is why this film is challenging. Again, I don't think, if you're saying that it's challenging, I don't think it hits the challenge that it's trying to. But again, I can respect it for trying to redeem these characters, even if, in terms of context of the time it came out, in terms of everything around it, it probably shouldn't have, I think, is my main takeaway.
That's heavy.
I know that, because this one we can do a favourite scenes on? Is this?
Well, I was going to say, like,
different context,
the two sort of things that stuck out to me is I've only ever left the cinema after being choked up twice in my memory right now. One is Click, fucking when he's in the rain.
Yeah.
I had to just
I know
leave
exactly what you know.
just for a minute. Well, and the second one was 2017. I had a lot going on that year when Frances McDormand and Woody Harrelson are in the fucking room by themselves and he coughs blood on her. And you can see, like, the performance wise, and you can see that
her
they've been friends for years. It's a whole thing. I was just like, I just need to excuse myself for a moment. And left. I was just, like, even the rewatch. When I first watched it, I thought, I don't think you can enjoy a film like that. In the rewatch, it was difficult. But the performances still stand out to me.
Yeah.
Out of everything like that. But that was a moment.
I think this was really good about Martin McDonagh, is that he is really good at directing characters.
And again, I think that's probably a holdover from the theatre stuff. I think
that
he approaches it in that way.
So shall we move on? So I'm just wary we've actually been going an hour and a half.
Christ.
So should we jump into Banshees?
Oh.
So Ollie hasn't
Feel
seen
bad film of the year.
Ollie hasn't seen this one.
Well, sorry, I just want to, like, quickly, I hope that anybody listening, going back onto my point I made earlier, I'm sure that anybody listening doesn't really care about what I'm saying here as much as I think they might be. But again, I don't want people to get this misconception of me that I am unwilling to watch certain films or whatever, and that I'm not as well read as you guys or anything like that.
Definitely not.
Nobody here.
All they have to do is listen
about
to
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, you're all good, man.
I like to. If there's like,
absolutely,
there's now like what probably like 50 hours of us on iTunes where I just go verbally diarrhea about like the history of Dracula on film and stuff. Like but the point I'm making is, after having watched 3 Billboards out of Ebbing, Missouri, can you guys see how I wasn't in a massive rush to go?
100%.
I'm like, I don't, and right, I absolutely love dark, depraved, twisted. Like the films that we're going to talk about in our upcoming episodes are darker than this, and I love me some messed up stuff.
Yeah,
but it's just, for me, the tone shifts so jarringly in 3 Billboards, and I don't really still know 100% what he was trying to say. I'm not in a massive rush to go out and experience that again.
I think it's a conflicted movie. I think the one thing I will say, if it is, and again, I'm not trying to convince anyone to watch this movie. Like I said, any opinions against it are completely valid. For me personally, a film that is challenging and fails is still more interesting than something like Green Book that then won 2 years later and didn't really try anything. Again, I think it is trying a lot. I don't know if it should have. I don't know if he was the one, if he was the voice that should have been amplified at that time. I think all of those things are complicated things that, again, I've said it before, if you actually want to talk about the racial politics of this movie, if you want to talk about the state of America at the time, if you want to talk about, should an Irish person have even been making an American film at this time? Because I know a lot of I think it was accused of being like a very postcard picture of America or whatever at that time. You can find way better people than the 4 British guys currently in an office taking time out of their normal talking about like big blockbuster movies to have that. Like, there are better voices than us. Go listen to them. Tell them we sent you because, you know, we need the listens and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, still please listen to us.
Yeah. But yeah. Good movie, difficult movie. If you want to watch this movie. If you don't, totally get you.
And if you feel like there weren't any really redeemable or likable characters in this film, Ollie, you're in for a shock for Banshees. Jesus fucking Christ.
Do you remember? Sorry to cut in.
No, go.
Do you remember when I went to see this and I messaged you?
Yes,
straight away?
yeah. I probably still got it somewhere in the old phone.
Yeah.
I think something along the lines of "Don't watch this by yourself."
Yeah.
And I ended up watching it at 7 o'clock in the morning by myself.
That ruins a whole day for you right there.
It did. Weekend.
That's a you're drinking scotch by 12 kind of day.
So yeah.
I think we went to see this in like a half term or something, and I think that there was only 4 people in the screen.
There was, I think it was out for like a week.
Yeah.
It had like a week showing in cinemas,
Yeah.
and then after that it was, I think, on Disney Plus straight away.
So we caught it in the cinema, and I messaged you before, and I saw the trailer, and I was obsessed.
Yeah, the trailer again doesn't really tell you what
It doesn't
happen.
No,
What the context of the film.
Yeah, and it kind of looks beautiful. Like the Aran Islands are beautiful anyway. Inisherin is not a real place, but it is based on kind of 2 places. It's Brendan Gleeson.
Colin
boys
Farrell
are back
again.
in town.
It's like a full circle moment.
It was 14 years between In Bruges and Banshees.
And again, a lot of people had built up this sort of fandom.
The trailer was very comedy heavy.
Yes, yeah.
Donkey shites. That tells you how much you
and I
I
sat there, and for 20 minutes, I watched the credits, and I just sat in the screen, and I was just so deflated.
So what I think is great, because I remember I think this film, everyone has a different reaction to it, and it's what particular like hang up or complex you have in your mind that it can activate. Like, I remember watching it with some friends. My takeaway was like, but what if one day my friends just say that they're not my friends anymore? Like, I'm afraid this could happen. I'm afraid this is all, fucking what's it, imposter syndrome or whatever. And it hit that for me. My friend's response was then like, no, maybe I am too nice. Maybe I am always like, I would be the one trying to ask forgiveness for asking forgiveness because that makes me too boring. Yeah. I think your take was a different particular psychosis that hit, it hits whatever you are unsure about or uncomfortable with in your life. It will probably pinpoint that and target it quite specifically for you, which is weirdly a recommendation. But,
let's start with the
let's call it the start.
synopsis.
Yeah, so the synopsis I've got here is so 2 lifelong friends find themselves at an impasse when one abruptly ends the relationship with alarming consequences for both of them. It basically follows I've got the names here. I haven't. It basically follows Podrick and Colm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
They were two best friends. They live on this island, the island of Inisherin. There is fuck all happening there.
Yep.
It's majority. There's like 3 women that live on the island. The rest are men. On the mainlands, you can see the civil war that's happening. And they're basically just 2 friends. And then one day, Porrick, who is played by Colin Farrell, goes to the pub, and his friend's not there. So then he goes to knock on his friend's door. Yep. And he's ignoring him. He's literally, you can see him sat there and he's ignoring him. Yeah. So he walks up to the pub, orders a drink. He's like, do you think I should go to the bartender? He's like, do you think I should go get him? And then he goes back to his house. He's not there. Then he sees him walking. And basically from there, Brendan Gleeson basically says, I don't want to be a friend anymore. Yep. I just don't like her. You're line
boring.
that gets me is he's dull. Yeah. He tells his sister, his sister basically barges in and goes, why don't you like, what's going on? He's like, he's dull.
Yeah, so
and she's like, that is your reason. And he's like, because basically he's having an existential crisis.
He is, for them backstory of that character, he is like a fiddle player. He is very much talking about like the great artists of his time and whatever. And he obviously doesn't get any of that because he is just on an island where no one talks about art. He's just his best friend talks about his little donkey's shite all the time.
It was his horse. I can tell you weren't listening.
You mentioned the civil war going on in the background. Again, we are not the people to talk about Irish. There is a lot of metaphors for Irish politics going on here. If you want to learn anything about that, please look elsewhere. We are not qualified for that at all. And yeah, then it turns out, again, this is, I feel like, probably the most stage play film of the four of them. It is basically the character study of these two characters with very different ideologies. One of them didn't even want an ideology. He's just being forced to have one because his friend's being a dick, which is a very oversimplification. But yeah, it is then this, like, very pastoral, very pretty exploration of pettiness and sadness and like just male friendships like falling apart. And
I think probably the most tragic character in it is Barry Keogh's character. I can't remember what his name is,
but he's
Dominic.
Yeah. So he's almost again we talked about Caleb so and so. Yeah, of the two strange little guys in cinema, they're absolutely killing it. And I mean that with nothing but respect for the man. His character is firstly, again, a character that I think, Ollie, when you describe like people that are really dislikable in their films, he starts off as that. He's like this annoying little shithead who just fucking pisses people off because there's nothing else to do. He has a very tragic backstory. And his story doesn't get better. Again, that's the main takeaway from this film, I think. Where does this character story start? Whether it's Brendan Gleeson, whether it's Colin Farrell, whether it's the fucking donkey, it doesn't get better from where it begins.
No. I think one of the things that you said when you said about the scene in that, and again, like Martin McDonagh has a good way of having just like kind of one-liners that, or like a little sentence that really speak volumes about a character or a situation. And one of them is basically Dominic has a thing for Porrick's sister,
Siobhan.
Yeah. And he's basically saying like, could you ever love a guy like me? And she's like, no, I can't. And then he goes, okay, well, that's that dream gone. And you're like, this is probably one of the youngest men on the island who has a dream of just loving someone, and that is all he has. Yeah. Because his dad's an abusive police officer who I'm pretty sure he like touches him, rapes him. He's like he beats him.
It's like, again, that's one of the weird ones where it's kind of played for comedic effect first. Like the first time it's mentioned, it's like, oh, and then you're also a bit of a nonce, and then there's a bit when it like is saying, oh yeah, well, he falls asleep naked, and you can see his evil brown little thing.
Oh, but I was not prepared
that,
for when they walked into his house.
Yeah, and then actually see him has literally just been jacking off, and has now passed out, and then and then you realize that this isn't a joke. This is actually a thing that is happening. And the of dislikable pieces of shit, the cop in this, the father, wow, real fucking awful human being.
He doesn't have a lot within the film.
No.
But it's the story and knowing what he's done and what he does that makes it. Even can be on it for 10 seconds and you just look at him and he is a despisable person. And then Colin Farrell unloads about that, and that's the most interesting thing he did in his life. There's that sequence. But yeah, what was her name again? Did you say
Siobhan?
So she's the character that is actually dealing with this like an adult. She knows how shitty the place.
She's probably the only,
and she's trying to get out of it. Yeah, she's well, I don't know, Colin Farrell's eyebrows, which they should.
Holy shit! Yeah, and they take on another level of acting.
But
how does he get him that low?
Yeah,
honestly, it's insane.
It's fantastic for his eyebrows alone. But yeah, she is like she's basically moving away, and again, there's a lot of feeling like she's the only person that a lot of people have on this island. But yeah, she is the mature one. She is the voice of reason. She's fantastic in it. Again, just fantastic movie. Like, as someone who, again, my experience of Free Billboards was being really hot on it, and then coming down, and then maybe all of these reasons, maybe there are reasons to not hold this guy as highly as I have done in the past. I think this is his redemption story. This is like his most mature film by a long distance. It is cracking less jokes. It's punching down way less, which I think is something you could criticize of his early films. I think it has taken on board a lot of the criticism that he probably got from Free Billboards. And yeah, is like this is a legitimate artistic statement. And yeah, just fantastic film.
So this film, I think, had, again, I'll repeat myself a few times, shocking moments within the film. I think this has possibly had the most. I've never felt my heart and my stomach drop
to us
before. When I was watching it, and it's at this point, it's like, I think it's like 8 o'clock. It's been on for about 50 minutes, something like that. And basically, I forgot his name. Brendan Gleeson's character, Colm basically says to Porrick, "If you talk to me again, I'm gonna take my shears that I'm at home and I'm gonna cut my fingers off."
And you a
finger off one at a time from his fiddle hand.
Barry's there, like Barry's.
Yep.
Why don't you just let him do one just to see if he means it?
Right,
Again,
so
he's playing it for a joke.
So I'm sat. So I'm like, he's never gonna fucking do that. And then you sat there. So he speaks to him, and then obviously he goes back home, and he's in his house with Siobhan, and then you just hear, like Harry, did you hear her? And you hear this thud.
You don't hear this first, because like the first one he does.
No. So the first one, he just hears a thud. They're just talking. Then all you hear is the thud on the door, and then you're like, "What is that?" Because the thud, it's a horrible thud. It's just a thud on the door, and you're like, but in your head you're going, like, that's just out the blue.
Yeah.
And then he walks outside, and he sees Colm walking off.
Yeah.
And then he turns around, sees blood on the door, and then you just look down, and his finger is there.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking hell,
and
where is this film fucking going?
Because
at this point, you could kind of say it's like, it is comedy. It's like a mature comedy with little bits of tragedy and like horror bits, like the story of Dominic and all, like, and basically just all these men on the island have nowhere to go and no life.
Incredible is how incredible is probably hyperbole and to a certain extent, but I like that you could tell someone this plot line of like, it's a guy who's going to keep cutting off his fingers and be like, that's ridiculous, that's not believable, that's not anything. And again, it comes, I think, from the stage play, or the theatrical history that Martin McDonagh had, that like, this feels like a grand tragedy. This feels like it's surprising that this isn't based on anything, because this feels like a metaphor that works, if that makes sense. Like, you are completely involved in it, and it doesn't feel like, well, that's an over-exaggeration. You probably didn't need to do that. Like, it works within the context of itself as this small chamber-based, like, again, just grand tragedy. Just
so then you think, well, he's done that. Like, he's not going to do it anymore. And then obviously fucking Porrick being Porrick goes and talks to him again, and then he cuts off the rest of his 4 fingers and just launches them at the door. And then when they're walking down the track and they see him coming, and it just pans down to his hand and it just stumps.
Well, because there's
finger. The heartbreaking bit about all of it was his dog trying to take the shears away from him.
Yeah, because so it's built to a couple of times. It's like one of the reasons that Brendan Gleeson's character is so like, he doesn't want him to apologize. He wants him to do something interesting and not just be, I'm sorry, to follow that path. And that you can see Colin Farrell continually doing this and just like not being able to help himself because this is the guy that he is. And again, it's like alluded to multiple times. You see a lot of shots of the shears before he actually does it. He comes around in weird bits. Again, there's a bit where Brendan Gleeson gets drunk on a load of Irish whiskey, goes up to the cop and fucking insults him. And he's like, actually, no, I kind of respect you now. You are becoming what I want you to be, which is weirdly what he's kind of trying to do, is to mold him into a more sort of interesting person in the most fucking passive-aggressive nightmare way possible. But yeah, it keeps building, and you keep getting the fingers, and it's very good. And he's playing the fiddle without the fingers, like,
where he's just jabbing the air like that, when he
and like nobody else, like, so many other people just seem like afraid to even mention the again, like, the elephant in the room here. Like, they're just kind of getting on with it because they don't know what the fuck else to do.
Those people that say they're in the pub and he's cut all his fingers off and he's teaching others how to play the music he's written, and they're all playing, and he's just got this fucking bleeding hand, missing all the fingers. It's
sad. The whole, like, even the one thing that he has is the donkey after all
and even the donkey
dies
by choking on the fingers.
Choking on the fingers.
And so
So I have seen clips of this film. I've seen the opening sequence, and I've seen 2 of the conversations between Gleeson and Farrell. Sorry. I just had a bit of a moment there where my tongue went all weird and I didn't know what I was trying to say. I'm trying to phrase this delicately. From what I picked up of Farrell's performance in the scenes that I have seen, and I know I've only seen a handful, and from the way you're describing their dynamic, I sort of inferred, is there like an implication that Colin Farrell has like a cognitive learning disability?
Not really.
Because he seems incredibly simple, and this idea of Gleason's obviously considerably older than him in age. You get, and you've said he's like almost trying to groom him, mold him into something more stimulating and more of a better companion, so that he can have interesting conversations with. And Farrell can't understand why, and all he keeps doing is apologising as though he's done something wrong. It kind of seems like the implication I'm getting is that he might be handicapped.
If it is, it never alludes to it, and I think because I think it alludes more to the idea. So there's a bit later on. Again, the reason why he keeps doing it is because he's just generally trying to be a nice guy, and then when he does eventually become more of a nice guy, like Barry Cohen's character, or however it's pronounced. Again, sorry, butchering names. That will happen here. Again, great actor. But there's a bit where he's so there's this weird comedic bit that is like probably the funniest bit in the film, but also the bit that doesn't fit in most ways. Like Colin Farrell tells a guy that's driving tells a guy needs to distract a guy, and he says like, "Oh, your father got run over by a car," and it's like,
a bread car.
"Oh, that's how my mother died," or something. And then when he tells that to Barry's character, he's just like, "Why'd you do that? You're like, you were the only nice person on the island." Like it alludes more, I think, to, again, it isn't written that way. I think it is generally the idea that he is supposed to be just naive and nice and very much what he is, and that it should be. This is the one point where someone sees that as a positive, and it's just like, again, it's very interestingly handled.
I think because to be honest, Colm never said. He always says, "Stop apologising. Yeah. I just don't want you to talk to me." He's never trying. I don't feel like he's trying to make him into a better person or into somebody that he wants to have conversations with. He basically just cuts him off.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to know him. He doesn't really try to groom him or turn him into somebody that he wants to have a conversation with, because
he doesn't think it's possible.
Yeah. So he just cuts him off.
Yeah.
I can see what you mean by like the way the character is and stuff like that. You could think that he has some kind of mental disability, possibly.
Podrick and Siobhan have a conversation in which they have when she's just about to leave, and she's like, you could be this, you could be that, and he said, "No, I just want a simple life. I just want to stay here. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to be anything." He just wants to him and his donkey, sort of thing as well.
Yeah,
I think she's much more sort of red.
I think it is more. I think it is more chosen, and I think because then in the end of the film, he then decides that he isn't so. Again, the grand tragedy: the donkey dies. It swallows one of the disembodied fingers, and then basically Colin Farrell then burns down his house and then goes for revenge, and it does start that.
He pretty much says he's like, "I'm gonna at 2:00 tomorrow on God's day. I'm gonna burn down your house, whether you're in it or not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna check to see if you're in it, but I'm gonna burn down your house. Just leave your dog outside."
Yeah, he does that.
That's how he says it.
Saves the dog. But it isn't written just as constantly not being able to understand. He does become an active participant in it. So I think you could read it that way. I don't necessarily think that is the intention that at least everyone is supposed to come away from, of like, well, that's clearly the situation here, would be how I would refer to that idea.
Okay. Yeah, it's just an observation that I...
No.
Again, an interesting reading. Again, any opinions
it's
about
quite interesting for you to have a reading like that from only seeing 5 minutes worth of footage.
He just seems like this eternal optimist, like happy-go-lucky, just completely unfazed by anything, and then just particularly the fact that if they were closer in age, like the casting is obviously very, very deliberate, and so it'll be interesting for me to watch this and then come back and speak to you guys and see what my thoughts are. But from the scenes that I got, that was kind of I just picked up on that.
For about 80% of the film, he is an optimist. He always gets drunk and then gets pissed off, and then he'll like berate Colm. But then the next day when he sobers up, he basically goes back again, apologizes, and pretty much, and then he thinks everything's going to be okay. But
And-
Gleason's like, fuck off.
And
I
yeah,
don't want to know you.
it is
And it's just
presented. It is
continuous.
presented as that sort of ideological. Like again, I think it works more if you read it as this is intentional. This is just who he is. This is just the way that he sees the world, as opposed to necessarily, sort of the situation around him. If that makes sense. And again, we're trying to have this conversation as sensitively as possible. Again,
all the films are quite
Yeah,
have
they're all
sensitive
difficult,
subjects in it.
for sure.
But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to say this, but I'm not in a rush to see Banshees for quite some time.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's one of
Yeah.
and that
But I think
I say
think
that
people
as
should see it.
I say
Yeah.
that as a compliment. Yeah, again, like I said, 3 Billboards I come away from like you don't need to watch that. This is still very much worth a watch, I think.
Well, I said that to you guys a few weeks ago when we did our Whiplash episode. I
Yeah.
made that real ham-fisted analogy about it being like a
Yeah.
roast dinner, and like I've eaten it, it's great, I love it, but I don't want to eat one again for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with Whiplash. I think I've watched that film now 3 times in the last 6 months for this podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't think if somebody came and said, right, Mr. Bone, we are destroying all copies of Whiplash in the world, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've seen it enough times.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not in a huge rush to put myself through that again. The exact same thing with 3 Billboards, and it's interesting that you guys are saying the exact same thing about Banshees.
Yeah.
I think it's because there's you watch a film, the only bit of optimism from this is that Siobhan gets off the island and makes a life
Yeah.
for herself.
Yeah.
After that, there's nothing happy about this film.
I will also
But does
also
she?
say for its bleakness though,
Ooh.
it is still.
Oh.
Ooh, you may be coming in with a theory. That's it.
So
Put
He,
you on the
gets
spot.
comfy.
Mrs. McCormick, we haven't spoken about at all.
Oh, the Banshee.
yeah.
She's cast as the witchy Banshee.
Yeah, so there's also a line of mysticism through this film. That
Not Kenny McCormick's mum from
No.
South Park.
no.
if it was.
She turns up when things are gonna, perish. She
Basically at the beginning of
turned up-
everything going bad.
yeah. And then as she's waving, as Siobhan is leaving on the boat, she turns up on the island to wave her off.
I did not notice that. But
Yeah, she's
Because she's waving.
she's waving to
from the
Porrick,
boat.
and then and then behind him is this black figure.
Oh, I don't think I caught that.
So, yeah, you could read it as it might be Siobhan, or obviously the
Well,
ending of this film is quite
So she
open.
so she says, the Banshee lady says something like, basically someone's gonna. She pretty much says, obviously in her mystical words, that someone's gonna die.
Yeah.
Pretty much this week, or I can't remember
Yeah.
exact words. And then it's when basically Porrick sets fire to Colm's house.
Yeah.
The policeman goes up to Porrick's house to basically speak to him about it, and then the Banshee's there.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Miss McCormack is there.
Yeah.
McCormack?
Yeah.
And she's holding the stick with the hook that
Yes.
Yeah.
Dominic had at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And she basically goes to the policeman, come with me.
Yeah.
And goes down to the water, and she hooks out Dominic's body.
Yeah.
So probably the youngest person on
Yeah.
that island has perished.
Yeah.
But we don't know whether it's... You don't know... So Porrick kind of alludes in a letter that he fell in, but you don't actually know that.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, suicide, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
straight
that
away.
that is the takeaway. Again, also in terms of things leading into themselves in his films. The song that Brendan Gleeson is trying to write is the Banshees of Inisherin, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
trying to write a mythology around the island because, again, his opinion is it doesn't really have that in and of itself.
Mm.
And then the strains of like Irish mysticism, which again you can find people far better talking about than us, but that there's like a through line of mysticism in this, which I think is especially out of character for his writing. But again, I think does really well.
I'll say this as well, just because my sort of final thought on this is the reason why this hit me so hard is because like we had started talking about the podcast way before this.
Yeah.
And Colm's big thing is he wants to leave something in the world that is
legacy.
remembered. And at the time of that, I was like obsessing over that, like a little bit of a midlife crisis. And I think I watched this film like during that midlife
No,
crisis.
that's not a good film for that.
And the film, for my big takeaway from this film is that for people to leave something when they're gone in this world, you have to cut things out. Obviously, you don't have to cut your fingers off.
No. No.
obviously, Colm goes to extremities for this to happen, but every sort of artist or anything leaves something, but like has to, cut things off
Yeah.
to become
Sacrifice
successful.
a bit of themselves.
And yeah, afterwards it was just a
Well, he kind of alludes to that a little bit, doesn't he? When he cuts the first finger off, and then Siobhan goes to speak to him about it, and he's like, "If he comes to see me, I'll cut another one off. I'll
Yeah.
cut all 4 off." And then she's like, "Well, why would you do that?" I'm like, well, think about your music. Is like, now we're getting somewhere, because he's like,
yeah.
you need to realize that if he fucks with me, I'm gonna
Yeah.
lose what I truly love.
Yeah, and everyone is lonely on the island. It's
Yes.
kind of.
Yeah.
However, Barry Keoghan's character, I've always felt that he was the loneliest
Yeah.
on the island.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, he's sort of, we alluded to it earlier in the episode, he's kind of, Siobhan lets him down quite gently. And then he has no one else.
Yeah.
That was his big thing. And yeah,
Again, I think
it
it's
is a suicide.
I
that
think it's another
is-
great example of him using what we know about the actor playing the role. In that, again, I made the joke about funny little guy in cinema, but I think there was a tweet going around when he started getting big of like, if you see this kid on screen, some shit's about to go down because of
yeah.
stuff like Killing of the Sacred Deer and like The
Oh.
Green Knight and all of
Yeah.
his history coming through films was as the fucked up guy and like playing
The
weirder,
oddity.
playing weird characters in that. So when he is introduced as like this little shithead, again, like absolute, like goading him on basically to see if he cuts his fingers off because it's something to fucking do. And so you are kind of laughing at him and then realizing that this isn't in there as the punchline.
No.
This is one of the major tragedies of this movie. Again, I think the character is done really well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I could talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
And
it's,
do we have a favorite moment? Do we have a, do we
Um,
have a,
I don't really think there's a favorite moment.
it's not that kind of film, I think is.
I just think it's a really well written, really well directed, really well shot, photographed film. It's a solid film.
Yeah.
But you can't watch it more. It's not a rewatchable one, but you need to see it at least once because it is unique. It's a unique film.
Yeah.
Again, I think there are, and I think we've talked through them even as a fan of the man's work. Like, I think there are a lot of things you can criticize about his films. I think this is probably the most successful in what it's going for. I think it's probably got the best, in terms of it has an idea of what it's trying to say, and I think it tells it as succinctly as possible. You could argue that is that because it cuts all the fat off it, because it cuts all of the provocations and what have you. But regardless, I think, good film. You should watch this film.
Yeah.
I think that's. I'm happy to stop there. 'cause
Yeah.
It ended up actually being quite a heavy episode, heavier than I was expecting to be.
I'm sorry. How the fuck did you not expect
no.
this to be a
No, I mean-
heavy episode?
No, because when you're thinking about it yourself,
Again, because I always think of In Bruges as a
It's-
comedy.
but it's
and
different-
Seven
it's-
Psychopaths is.
it's different. Speaking about these films in an open forum like this between four of us is a lot different than thinking about the film on your own.
This also is, again,
It's a heck of a when
this
you're
isn't-
thinking to yourself. It's just when you're saying it out loud. To me, it's more. You're saying it and then you're actually hearing it
Yeah.
physically, kind of thing. So to me, it sounds everything that we discussed. Everybody's point of views about certain things that were different, like from my point of view and stuff like that. It all mixes together, and then you realise, holy shit, this is when you talk about it out loud. It's quite
again, and I think you have a different conversation. Like if you recommend any of his movies to someone, you say it in terms of, oh well, the jokes are really funny. You say it in terms of,
you try and make it lighthearted because you don't want to give them. You want them to watch it,
and again,
but you don't want to put them off.
Yeah, I think that is he has been very talented at introducing the heavy films in it in a way that, again, in a casual conversation, you can discuss those fairly minorly. You can still get enough from In Bruges just on it's a funny fucking film with funny fucking dialogue.
I know I'm kind of at a handicap, but I had to hype myself up for this coming down here. I was like, I don't want, like, obviously my only real frame of reference for his films is the one where the woman, the abusive mother, is trying to avenge her raped daughter with help of the racist antebellum South police officer. I was thinking this is going to be the most depressing conversation we've had in like ever. But yeah, under two. I'm going to jinx it now. We'll probably go on over. But just about under 2 hours.
I mean, 4 films under 2 hours and a short film.
Yeah.
And also, as of recording this, yesterday, Searchlight put a photo out that they've actually, yesterday, they started shooting his 5th film,
Yeah.
Wild
Wild
Horse 9, which I don't think anybody knows what it's about.
Again, I would rather keep it that way. I want to go in as blind.
Plot is under wraps. Cast-wise, Sam Rockwell, John Malkovich, Steve Buscemi, and Parker Posey so far.
I can imagine that.
Have you seen Parker Posey in the new season White Lotus yet?
No, I've just heard
No.
about
She's
the
fucking
accent. I
brilliant.
still haven't
Yeah.
seen how.
my god, she talks
I haven't seen it in context.
Honestly, she's brilliant.
It sounds
really
great.
funny.
It
It's
sounds
so
great.
good.
Well,
Sorry. We'll do in the 2 hours that we have been doing this. There's been some like a couple of announcements. Nothing major. only for geeks like us. Arrow has announced that they are doing a 4K remaster of Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse.
Wow.
Which I will be getting.
yes.
And Peter Weller has said that he is in conversations for a RoboCop sequel.
Really?
Peter Weller at this age.
He wants to be RoboCop
Again. Yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit.
And also today is Bruce Willis's 70th birthday.
Oh yeah, big.
And we all love Brucey here, so
We
happy
do.
birthday, Mr. Willis.
Yeah.
And he's had some like complications with dementia
Alzheimer's,
and Alzheimer's, whatever it is.
Turns out if you're making jokes about people's career and stuff, maybe don't. As much as we do for a lot, that's probably not the best example in that case.
Right, so just quickly, as usual, the plugs of all plugs. Just so you let you know, surprise,
Actually,
Harry.
before
still.
we do, I would like to say I did bring a scene.
Did
but
you bring a
apparently-
scene? No, fucking get out. Go on, get out.
Shit.
Yeah, go for it,
You
Harry.
know what? Does
I
no
ju-
one else do the scenes any?
Joe,
The real missing scenes was the scenes that we didn't fucking write in the first place. Clearly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What film is this for?
So this is actually a theory that I said to Charlie coming out of 3 Billboards for the first time. Of that, I think this was I think they were some of the psychopaths that didn't make it.
Yeah.
So this is a
Have you written your own Psychopaths thing?
So
I
this is-
vaguely remember
this is what again, this is mostly a bad joke, but this is the extra post-credit scene for 3 Billboards. Exterior, a rooftop bar in LA day. Mildred and Jason sit across from each other, looking confessional. Mildred exhales. So that's our story. Marty sits on the opposite side, taking a drink and taking in what he heard. So, did you get the guy? Jason cuts in. No, don't answer that. Mildred, well, are you going to use it or what? Well, you're not really psychopaths if you didn't kill the guy. Jason, no, it's an open ending. You know, audiences love those. Marty looks irritated and like he doesn't. Well, I mean, not really. And like, I'm going to need to tone you down a bit. You're a bit of a Jason, a moral grey area. Marty, no, you're a fuckhead. Mildred, hey, now, let's not be rude. It's like, Jason, Marty, really from you? Anyway, I'll get back to you. Look, I don't think it's for this. Mildred and Jason leave. Shortly after, Billy slides into their seat from off shot. So was that a good one, Marty? Not really. I don't think it's right for this project. Even if I don't even know if they killed anyone, and he seems like a tough sell to audiences to root for. Reminds me of you though. Jason looks back, Billy looks back at Jason. He doesn't look anything like me. Mostly for the joke that they're both played by the same character. You guys,
I am loving the interweaving of 2 films.
fucking love
That's
that.
great. That's brilliant.
I'm gonna need some more scenes from you guys. You know, I'm not the only one doing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Commit to the bit. Fuck's sake.
That was brilliant. I really like that. As soon as I heard Marty, I was like, oh, this is like a fucking MCU crossover shit going on here. What's going on?
Meta.
So we are on Instagram. We are at the Missing Scene Pod. We are on X as at Missing Scene Pod. Letterbox, Charlie,
Westwood Sea.
Ollie,
OJB, all caps, no spaces.
Daniel Jeeves, and Harry still doesn't have one.
You've heard enough of me talk. It's fine.
You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. We release every Friday, roughly around 6. You might get a special surprise episode, depends on what happens in the world or what gets released. I think the next episode that we've got scheduled for next week is Truman Show. So a lot lighter than I feel like what we've talked about today. You can go back and listen to the previous episode, which was Film Anniversaries, which we really enjoyed. I feel we really enjoyed recording.
Yeah.
Basically,
That's like our most light-hearted episode today.
Yeah,
It's just
Yeah.
us sitting around talking about upcoming films that are celebrating their anniversaries, 25 years, 30 years, 4 years, and like just
And
talk
our
about which-
favourites
yeah,
and
which
our
ones-
memories and
exactly. So it's real postscript, that one.
Yep, and obviously, and then our 10th one, our big Matrix special, which we are really fun, a lot of fun recording, and we might do something similar to that in the future. But yeah,
Yes.
apart from that, go listen, follow, share, and again, this is possibly the quietest Ollie has ever been, but I feel like it's been a great chat.
I don't know. Me and Harry were saying in the car on the way here about the Truman Show episode. I am a little bit stumped about because I like that film. It's a good film. I studied it at school. We did like an extended project on it for drama. And I don't really think I have anything to say other than it's a good film. So I'm gonna have to dig deep into my brain to come up with a new thing. But you say that about Letterboxd. I can't remember when I followed you guys on Letterboxd, but when I first got it when I was like 18 or whatever, and I was thinking that I was this really intelligent, like lofty film critic, but in actual fact I was just an 18-year-old portentous fuckhead. I would write like paragraphs and paragraphs for each review thinking that anybody gave a shit. And now, for example, I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, the other day, and my review was literally just, this is the gayest shit ever, I love it. I hardly ever, you don't have to write on there, like I hardly ever review stuff, and when I do now, I'm usually just like, this shit rocks.
It's kind of like a log for what you've watched, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Same with like The Mummy, when you sent me a message.
Yeah,
we fucking talk about childhood trauma.
I think
that's
if
one to add to the list of
100%.
If we are wrapping up, I will say just as a postscript, and again, obviously not to bring us back down again, we have tried covering things that are way bigger than we probably should have. We've tried touching stuff as sensitively as possible. Please know that we did our best.
I think we actually did really well.
But again, like everything is in context with the film. We've done what we can.
Perfect.
Yeah, good chat.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you all, and until next week.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.